Chapter 798. Haven't you noticed that Master seems to be a completely different person now? Her state of mind is transcendent, and nothing seems to be able to shake her in the slightest. Especially when I imperceptibly used the red dust heart sutra on her. Her state of mind is flawless. Who knows how many times stronger than Ling, who is an immortal spirit body that cultivates the soul. In addition, there's a dangerous power in her body. Even I might not be able to resist it. Chen Hao said. She's that strong? Chen Shui asked in surprise. Although she had long sensed her mother's abnormality, especially after she stepped into the heaven immortal realm, her strength had increased tremendously. She didn't expect her mother to be as strong as Chen Hao said. Chen Shui knew how strong Chen Hao was after he stepped into the heaven immortal realm. Now, Chen Hao had been in seclusion for 200 years, and could step into the middle stage of the heaven immortal realm at any time. How strong was he? But Chen Hao said he might not be able to resist her mother. That was simply too shocking. Yes. Think about it carefully. When did Master start to change? Chen Hao asked. I don't know exactly when it started. It should be when we had our first conflict with Moling Takshu, Bai Yan, and Hu Meinyang. At that time, Mother was unusually calm. Because of her lack of strength, she even felt a little inferior. She never expressed her opinion on our decisions. But later, when we encountered trouble, Mother was always the calmest one. Moreover, she gave us a deterrent that we couldn't disobey. That should be it. Her change, or awakening, should be because of Hu Meinyang's appearance. Why? Could it be because of the innate Taoist embryo? It should be. Think about it. Master carried you in the womb for over 100 years, and made you a half-natural embryo of Taoism. When you became a Daoyuo Jingxian, you would be a real natural embryo of Taoism. She did that without telling Father. Now, although we don't know the details of Father and the others, we can basically conclude that they were all real mortals on the Wuji star. Only in this way can we explain why Master has become so unpredictable. And Master insisted on making you a natural embryo of Taoism for a reason. Perhaps it has something to do with the first generation of natural embryos of Misty Rain Pavilion? Perhaps. In these 200 years, Mother has been training with Master Yunwei. I don't know what they did, but now, Master Yunwei has changed a lot. Perhaps, Master Yunwei knows something? Forget it, how it's useless for us to guess. When it's time to tell us, I believe Mother will tell us. DDD. Just then, Xiaoji's notification sounded. What is it, Xiaoji? Chen Hao asked with a frown as he opened the seal on the cultivation room of the aircraft. Master Han Mei and Master Yunwei sent a message. They said that they won't be going with you. They want to train on their own, and ask you to be careful. They didn't want the aircraft and said that they'll see you after the primitive mystic realm ends. Don't worry about them and don't make wild guesses. Xiaoji's words made Chen Hao and Chen Shui look at each other in surprise. Could it be that Master knows about our conversation? That shouldn't be. We're communicating through telepathy, Chen Hao said. It seems like you're right. I'm just a product of them. Chen Shui said with a hint of sadness in her heart. As a mother, she couldn't even understand her own daughter. If it was anyone else, they would feel uncomfortable. Although Chen Shui knew that her mother might be doing it for her own good, she still felt wronged. All right, little Shui, don't think too much. Let's merge our minds and share our experiences over the years. Okay, Lu Qianya. In the central mainland, outside the Imperial Jade Pith area, the Protoss encampment area spanned hundreds of thousands of miles. At this moment, countless Protoss cultivators were gathered at the center of a huge mountain range. All of them were shouting the name of the Protoss number 1 elite, Lu Qianya. Lu Qianya was the leader of the Protoss in name. Before he stepped into the primitive mystic realm, he was ranked first among the Protoss. Now that he had been in the primitive mystic realm for close to 300 years, his strength had increased exponentially. He had countless shocking achievements, and he was still recognized as the number 1 elite of the Protoss. But now, there was an unknown cultivator from the Protoss who wanted to challenge Lu Qianya and replace him as the leader of the Protoss in name. 10 days ago, under Lu Qianya's call, The powerful Protoss had sent out 100 masters to compete for the remaining 9 spots in the competition among the 10 galaxies. Today the top 10 had been decided. But just as Wuxia was about to confirm that the 10 of them would represent the Protoss, a Protoss cultivator jumped out and said that Wuxia's 10 were not enough to represent the Protoss' true strength. He even challenged Wuxia. In everyone's eyes, this was an act of suicide. It was also a provocation to Wuxia. Of course, Wuxia had no reason to avoid the challenge. But no matter how crazy the crowd was, the final result shocked countless Protoss cultivators. Wuxia was defeated. But at this time, something even more unexpected happened. Another person stood up and challenged the mysterious elite who had defeated Wuxia, and he succeeded again. This result made it so that the Protoss, who did not need to decide the top 10, had no choice but to let the remaining 9 people, other than Wuxia and the 2 mysterious elites, compete for the remaining 7 spots. Almost the same thing happened in the competition for the Zerg spots. However, the publicly recognized number 1 elite of the Zerg, Mauricis, was one of the top 3 elites who had a combat strength of 10 million points before he stepped into the primitive mystic realm. He still managed to defend his position. But there were also 4 or 5 low-profile elites who had stepped into the top 10, squeezing out some elites who were originally recognized as qualified. The strongest mixed race, the Tyrants, had more than 1,000 elites competing for the top 10 spots. Many unknown fellows had become terrifying dark horses, rising in high profile. In just half a month, the news obtained from the 3 major galaxies shocked the other galaxies. In the human race, Humainiang and the others were at their wits' end. This was because, other than Humainiang, there were only 6 human cultivators who were willing to fight. Although these 6 people were also influential figures in the human race, even if they were confident, the onlookers felt that they were like toads propping up a table. Not even 10 people were enough. It was not that the human cultivators were timid or not confident. It was just that there were too few elites. In terms of absolute power, the result of fighting head-on would only be death. Although the Emperor Chalcedony was precious, it was not something that could be exchanged with one's life. Chapter 799. Is there any news from the human race? The number 1 expert of the insect race, Mauricis, was sitting cross-legged on the top of the mountain. His majestic life force was surging as if it was real. Of the 9 strange heads, except for the extremely beautiful human female head in the middle, the other 8 snake heads looked extremely strange. Their tongues flickered with different colors as they looked down at the insect race's intelligence captain who had just returned and was in charge of the vast universe galaxy. Reporting to Queen Mo Li, we still haven't received any news about Chen Hao and the other members of Aotion. Apart from Humainiang, there are only 6 people who have volunteered to fight. Although they are quite strong, they are not on the same level as us. There are still 10 days left. Keep a close eye on them. The biggest variable for the human race is Killer Chen Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens. If they can come, we can't let our guard down. They will be as strong as the Tyrants and the Celestials. Don't worry, Queen Maori. Killer Chen Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens are no match for us. Only Humainiang is worthy of our fight. Humainiang? Before fighting with me, Mauricis, how dare you call yourself the top master of the 10 galaxies? You are just a natural Taoist embryo and mortal heart sutra. Hiss, as Mauricis spoke, his body suddenly shone with bright light. Immediately, the 8 snake heads disappeared, leaving only the head of the beautiful woman in the middle. At this moment, he had become an extremely sexy and enchanting beauty. What I really care about is Killer Chen Hao. When he was in the medium stage of the Earth's celestial stage, he could survive Humainiang. When he stepped into the heaven's celestial stage, he provoked the wrath of the heavens. In the past 200 years, he has disappeared without a trace. I am afraid his strength will increase tremendously. I am looking forward to it. Mauricis murmured, his eyes shining with a strange light. Over the years, she had heard a lot of news about the cultivators who had stepped into the 9 restrictions of celestial sealing. She was looking forward to Chen Hao more than Humainiang. As long as Killer Chen Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens don't appear, the Celestials, the Tyrants, and the insect race will compete for the top position. The human race only had one Humanyang. She couldn't change the outcome. Morichis from the Zerg clan, Chu Fengyang from the Tyrants, and Schwarzenan, who is the second strongest, are all masters on par with Humanyang. These three people had the highest combat power before they entered the primitive secret realm. Lu Qianye, have you fought with them before? Nye Fan, who had risen like a dark horse of the God clan, and kicked Lu Qianye down from the #1 expert of the Bug clan, had restrained his aura. No one could see the demeanor of an expert. He stared at the gloomy Lu Qianye and asked, "No. However, let me remind you that you should be worried about God-slaying Chen Hao in Proud Heaven. They'll definitely show up." Lu Qianye said coldly. Clearly, he wasn't convinced by Chu Fengyang's words. 2 months ago, the members of Proud Heaven that we were hunting down disappeared. From the signs, it could be concluded that they all had miniature aircraft, and it was an extremely powerful aircraft. If I'm not mistaken, he's probably going to meet up with murderous god Chen Hao. Furthermore, the first person to discover the Imperial Chalcedony region was Proud Heaven's Blue Peak. From your tone, you seem to be afraid of the human race? If I'm not mistaken, you don't even know that God-slaying Chen Hao and his Proud Heaven members are in the 9 forbidden zones, right? I really don't know. If it wasn't for the Imperial Chalcedony, I wouldn't even bother to reveal myself. Then let me tell you, when God-slaying Chen Hao stepped into the sky immortal realm, he provoked the wrath of the gods. Now that he has disappeared for 200 years, how strong do you think he is now? I was still worried about how to deal with him when he shows up. Now you're the #1 expert of the God clan, and the two of you are the second and third experts. I'm just fourth. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys are going to deal with him. Haha. Don't think that I, Lu Qianye, only have that little bit of ability. If it weren't for the big picture, the three of you would have joined forces and perished together with me. Farewell. During the duel, I, Lu Qianye, will obey the arrangement. Of course, if you want me to deal with God-slaying Chen Hao, Humanyang, Morichis, and the others, I'll give up my position as the leader of the God clan. I'll do what I want in my position. Hiss. After Lu Qianye finished speaking, he disappeared from the God clan's encampment. Miss Hu, we're still short of 3 people. What if Chen Hao and Proud Heaven don't show up? It's the last 3 days. I'm afraid they won't show up, right? Miss Hu, if there's no other way, count me in as well. Even if we lose, we have to gather enough people. Otherwise, we'll become the laughingstock of the other galaxies. On the mountain peak, thousands of human experts had gathered. Everyone's face was clouded with worry. Even Humanyang, who sat at the highest point in the center, was frowning. During this period of time, the news from the other galaxies had increased the pressure on the human cultivators. Their only hope was that Proud Heaven would arrive in time. However, there were only 3 days left and there was still no news from Chen Hao and the others. Count me in as well. At most, I'll die. At least I'll die a glorious death for the human race. God-slaying Chen Hao, Proud Heaven. I thought that they would be the pride of the human race, but at this critical moment, they're standing on their own. And they say they're fighting for the human race? What a joke. To think that I wanted to join Proud Heaven. Even if they don't care about the Imperial Jade Marrow, they shouldn't give up on the honor of the human race. I've told you that they're unreliable. When they were in the 9 Seals of Immortality, they only helped the human race because they wanted to wash away their sins of killing so many of our top prodigies. Fighting for the human race is just an excuse. When they're faced with the real elites of the foreign tribes and the honor of the human race, they revealed their true colors. If the 4 berserk dragons, Moling Takshu, Bai Yan, and the other top prodigies hadn't died at their hands, we wouldn't be in such a difficult situation right now. Unfortunately, I'm not strong enough. If I join them, I'll only embarrass the human race. However, if no one wants to join them, I'll do it. Calm down, everyone, Humanyang said softly. There are still 3 days left. Perhaps they'll show up. Even if they don't, it's possible that Chen Hao doesn't even know what's going on. After all, he's been gone for 200 years. Perhaps he's still in secluded meditation. As for the other members of Proud Heaven, I'm sure you all know that they've spread out to train themselves. Furthermore, they've been on the fringes of the central continent, where they've been fighting the outsiders. Even if they get wind of what's going on, they'll be stopped. It was clear that she was trying to absolve Chun Hao and Proud Heaven of any responsibility. Chapter 800. That's right, Miss Who is right. If Chun Hao and the Proud Heaven members could come, they'd definitely come. If they don't, I'm sure they have their reasons. Everyone knows that this duel isn't just about the Emperor Chalcedony. It's about the glory of the galaxy. Not to mention the 9 restrictions. The Proud Heaven members have been fighting the foreign races for the past 200 years. We can't deny their contributions to the human race just because they're not here. A female disciple in the middle of the group stood up to support Hu Meinyang and spoke up for Chun Hao. If Chun Hao were here, he'd recognize this girl as the one who'd received an ancient holy sword out of kindness when he first met Coiling Dragon. I don't know if Chun Hao can make it here in time, but I do know that he's never been afraid of foreign experts. If they don't come, I'm willing to fight. A voice suddenly came from the side, drawing everyone's attention. Among the thousands of experts of the human clan, the most eye-catching one was undoubtedly Hu Meinyang, who had gathered all the glory in her body. However, this figure who suddenly stood up and instantly released a surge of sword intent caused countless experts to be astonished. Even Hu Meinyang's eyes lit up slightly. This was a woman with an extremely beautiful figure. She changed her appearance and aura. Bailey Ningbing? Someone in the crowd immediately recognized Bailey Ningbing, who'd returned to her original appearance. She and Chun Hao both came from the Boundless Planet, and have a deep relationship. I didn't expect it to be her. Her immortal sword intent has reached a terrifying level. She's very strong. No wonder she never showed her true body. It's said that after she fell out with her senior brother Moling Takshu, she disappeared without a trace and never showed her true body. Yes, I also know that it was because she refused to enter the independent space with Moling Takshu that they fell out. At that time, Moling Takshu was so embarrassed that she became angry. She vaguely said that she had an affair with the killing god Chun Hao. I didn't expect her to be so strong now. Other than Hu Meinyang and the members of Proud Heaven, she definitely has the qualifications to participate in the battle. Good. Bailey Ningbing, I'll count you in. If Chun Hao and Proud Heaven's members don't arrive in 3 days, then the 10 of us will go. Hu Meinyang said. We still have a chance to get into the top 5. Just now, there were already 2 people who had clearly stated that they wanted to fight. Adding Bailey Ningbing, the 6 experts that had already been confirmed, and Hu Meinyang, there were exactly 10 of them. In particular, the aura that Bailey Ningbing released made Hu Meinyang feel slightly gratified. Other than the Tyrants, the Zergs, and the Protoss, if they encountered other galaxies, although their chances of winning were not high, it would increase a little. It all depended on their luck. Hiss. Who dares to trespass into the human territory? Brother, don't misunderstand. I'm a disciple of the human clan. I've just arrived. A figure appeared in front of several guardians of the human clan's territory. Wang. Soon after, a fluctuation was emitted from between his eyebrows. It's still the guild leader? Why did you come so late? How should I address you? My surname is Chun, as in Chun from Chun Hao. Ha. I've been chased by the cultivators of the mutated tribes. It wasn't easy for me to make it here. Luckily, I didn't miss the duel. Fuck, another diehard fan of Killing God Chun Hao. Me too. Haha. It's a pity that Killing God Chun Hao hasn't appeared yet. It's so disappointing. Sigh. Huh? He hasn't appeared yet? Doesn't that mean the human clan is in a miserable state now? The cultivator who had just broken through the restrictive shield and entered the human clan's territory looked a little disappointed and surprised. It's more than miserable. We can't even get 10 people to participate in the duel. A few of them were prepared to sacrifice themselves and decided to fight by propping themselves up on the table. Luckily, one of Killing God Chun Hao's old enemies, or rather an old flame, revealed an extremely powerful aura yesterday. Now the human clan isn't necessarily at the bottom. Perhaps there's still a little hope for us to make it into the top 5. Old enemies, old flame? Who is it? Bailey Ningbing, you don't even know this? To think that you're a diehard fan of Killing God Chun Hao. Let me tell you, Bailey Ningbing and Chun Hao both came from the Limitless Star. It's rumored that when they were on the Limitless Star, Bailey Ningbing forced the Killing God to be her Tao companion. What kind of person is the Killing God? How could he be forced? Thus, the two of them often fought and quarreled all the way to the vast universe galaxy. Bailey Ningbing even wanted to use the temple's top genius, Moling Takshu, to deal with Chen Hao. She pretended to get close to Moling Takshu, but Moling Takshu couldn't even take advantage of her. He flew into a rage out of humiliation, and had a falling out with Bailey Ningbing. In front of many cultivators he scolded her and Killing God Chen Hao. Although this is just a rumor, it's 100% true. Otherwise, how could Moling Takshu have died at the hands of Killing God Chen Hao? Cough cough. This rumor is really awesome. A trace of undetectable conflict flashed in the person's eyes as he shook his head and said. He was speechless and couldn't help but sigh. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. This person was none other than Chen Hao, who had just arrived. Of course. Let me tell you, there's no news about Killing God Chen Hao that I don't know. You know Lan Feng, right? I'm Lan Feng's good brother through life and death. It's a pity that I never had the chance to meet him. Otherwise, I would definitely be a member of Aotion now. Alright Nyo Air, if you don't show off for a day, you're not you. Damn it, Lan Feng's strength is so strong, but he's only at the bottom of Aotion. What qualifications do you have to join Aotion? What are you saying? I, Nyo Air, am not strong now, but that doesn't mean I won't be strong in the future. Besides, am I weak? That's not right, brother. Why do you have a soldier's token on you? At this moment, another cultivator looked at the newcomer and asked with a strange expression. Yes, I was originally a soldier. When I was in the 9 Seals of Immortality, there was a conflict with a foreign tribe. A regiment commander died near me. At that time, I was the strongest human cultivator around. Therefore, the regiment commander's token automatically came to me, Chen Hao said casually. Not to mention the regiment commander's token, he even had a regiment commander's token. The tokens of ordinary soldiers of the human race couldn't send out messages on their own. However, the tokens of captains and above could send out fixed messages to the tokens of the surrounding cultivators of the human race. They could also sense the number and distance of captains' tokens around them, and use them in battle. Chen Hao casually pulled out a pile of tokens. However, they were all stored in his mind. He could only activate the tokens with official titles, but he couldn't take them out. The cultivator who had sensed the soldier's token on this cultivator was a squad leader. Chapter 801. I knew it. Hearing Chen Hao's explanation, the team leader suddenly understood. Brother, what's the situation with the alien races now? Chen Hao looked at Neo Air, who was more congenial, and asked. You've asked the right person. We are responsible for guarding the area and passing on information. Now the galaxy with the strongest exposed strength is the Tyrant Galaxy, followed by the Insect race and the Protoss. According to the information obtained by the human race, their top experts are respectively. Half an hour later, under Neo Air's incessant chatter, Chen Hao understood some of the situation. When he found that there was no more useful information, he found an excuse and quickly went to the core area of the human race's encampment. It's the last day. Do you really not know? Or do you not want to come? On the mountain peak, in a temporary palace condensed with supernatural power, Hu Meinyang murmured. In 200 years, she had been promoted to the peak of the late stage of the Heaven Immortal stage. Her combat strength, combat skills, and the use of the Red Dust Heart Sutra were several times stronger. Her every move, every frown, and every smile seemed to be one with the great Tao. She could definitely be called an invincible heaven immortal. Her appearance, figure, and temperament were more sacred and attractive. She was a combination of holiness and seductiveness. It was a contradiction, but it felt very natural. But now, no matter how good Hu Meinyang's willpower was, she couldn't calm down. She waited anxiously. This was not a problem that could be solved by personal strength. No matter how strong one's strength was, the rules of the final battle limited one's performance. In a battle, a person could only fight one battle. No matter who won or lost, the person had to be replaced. Otherwise, let alone the top 5, Hu Meinyang was confident that she could even make it to the top 3. The only thing that could change the situation was Chen Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens. But now, Chen Hao and the members of the Proud Heavens still hadn't appeared. Hiss, an imperceptible breeze drifted past. Even the powerful Hu Meinyang did not sense it at all. That was because it was just the most ordinary flow of air between heaven and earth. It had completely merged with heaven and earth. She could not sense any abnormalities in its trajectory. What a freak. In the past 200 years, I went into seclusion with all my strength and increased my battle strength by several times. Who would have thought that her improvement would not be any less than mine? Damn it, if I really want to fight with her, I still don't have much of a chance of winning. Chen Hao, who was wearing the form-changing ring that could evolve and had completely merged with the world, was extremely shocked after sensing Hu Meinyang's aura at close range. The rhythm that naturally merged with the Great Tao and changed 1,000 times in an instant caused Chen Hao's mind to operate at extreme speed. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would definitely be noticed by Hu Meinyang. This is already the maximum distance. When he was within 300 meters, Chen Hao clearly felt that if he got any closer, he wouldn't be able to hide any longer. This was Hu Meinyang's perception that naturally filled her body. If Hu Meinyang really wanted to investigate, this distance would have been increased by at least 100 times. It was simply impossible to sneak up on her while she was in a state of battle. "Are you afraid of me, so you don't dare to show your face?" Hu Meinyang muttered again. As she spoke, she thought back to when the gate of spacetime had been opened in the 9 seals of immortal sealing, and how Chen Hao had forcibly molested her. Her extremely holy and enchanting face flushed red with anger. "Afraid of you? The word afraid has never existed in my dictionary." What caused Hu Meinyang's expression to suddenly become extremely shocked was that a familiar voice had actually directly sounded in her ears. In an instant, without any hesitation, Hu Meinyang abruptly moved several hundred meters to the side, and turned her head back to look in the direction she had just come from. Who else could it be but Chen Hao? His handsome and callous face had completely retracted his mortal aura. His lips were curved in a proud smile, and his pitch-black eyes were filled with a faint provocation. This caused Hu Meinyang's delicate body to tremble slightly. At this moment, her emotions became extremely complicated. She was shocked that Chen Hao had silently snuck within 100 feet of her, and she was pleasantly surprised by Chen Hao's arrival. There was also the displeasure of being spied on. For a moment, she stared straight at Chen Hao, and she was actually speechless. Chen Hao naturally knew that Hu Meinyang was just nagging at him, but he still took the initiative to speak and reveal himself. "What are you afraid of? If I had sneak attacked you, you would already be lying on the ground obediently, waiting for me to do whatever I wanted." Chen Hao boasted shamelessly, but in Hu Meinyang's ears, she had no choice but to take his words seriously. This was because she truly hadn't sensed a single shred of Chen Hao's aura. "You dare?" Hu Meinyang angrily retorted. "What's there to be afraid of? I, god of slaughter Chen Hao, dare not?" Chen Hao raised his sword-like eyebrows, and his eyes flashed with a playful light that looked down on the world as he spoke with a devilish charm. "Phew." Hu Meinyang took a deep breath and said, "You came here just to argue with Dodo?" "I don't have the time, and I'm not interested." "There's no need to test me. The Red Dust Heart Sutra couldn't affect me before, and it's even more impossible now. You forcefully suppress little Tian Fa." Hu Meinyang ignored Chen Hao and asked with a frown, "After 200 years of seclusion, I need to fight a few battles to my heart's content. Let's not talk nonsense. I'm here for the Emperor Jade Essence, and of course for the glory of the human race. However, with the current situation, it's better if Proud Heaven and I don't expose ourselves for now. I need your cooperation." Hu Meinyang frowned slightly, but immediately understood what Chen Hao meant. "All right. I know what to do. They've all snuck into the encampment, right? Don't you know that smart women are very annoying to men? Why do I need to make you like me?" Hu Meinyang raised her chin proudly, puffed out her chest, and stared at Chen Hao. Chen Hao narrowed his eyes and stared at Hu Meinyang's seductive chest, and said softly, "Let's have an exchange. The Red Dust Heart Sutra is fine, that's what I promised you. If it's anything else, you'll have to give me something of equal value in exchange." Hu Meinyang said without hesitation. Needless to say, she could guess what Chen Hao wanted to do. Is my 200 years of comprehension enough? Do you think I've been idle for the past 200 years? Comprehension against comprehension. We don't owe each other anything. If you want to comprehend my runes, you'll have to exchange it with your concealment technique. Hu Meinyang said domineeringly. She was very clear that Chen Hao, who was about to trigger little Tian Fa, definitely wanted to comprehend the mysterious runes of her physical body weapon transformation. Concealment technique. Don't even think about it. This is my trump card to counter you. If I let you learn it, won't you turn the world upside down? I'll let you observe my little Tian Fa. If you don't want to exchange it, forget it. It's just a little Tian Fa. Even if your little Tian Fa is very strong, it doesn't mean much to me, unless you promise me that you'll let me experience any Tian Fa in the future. Hu Meinyang was not willing to suffer any losses. Since Chen Hao called himself father, she kept calling him mother. All right. During this time you're mine. Don't say it so harshly. Aren't you mine? Emph. While the two of them were talking, they walked together. Without wasting any time, they sat down cross-legged and connected their divine thoughts. Their hearts and minds were as one, and they instantly entered the state of cultivation. At the same time, Hu Meinyang's body shone with a bright light of runes. She was not careless at all. Chapter 802. Hiss hiss hiss, the Tao laws roared, and runes flashed. Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang's minds merged, each taking what they needed. Chen Hao was fully focused on comprehending the physical body runes that Hu Meinyang had specially made for him. He grasped the mysteries within, while Hu Meinyang was comprehending the mysteries within Chen Hao's vast mind. Less than a day's time was too short for them, but they had no choice but to stop. Today, the top 100 experts from the 10 major galaxies would begin their battle. Today, 5 galaxies were destined to be eliminated and lose the right to enter the Emperor Jade Essence area. Today, the top experts from the 10 major galaxies would truly appear in front of all the cultivators in the primitive mystic realm and battle it out. This was a competition without the supervision of the judges. Life and death were up to fate. One could give up or admit defeat, but the prerequisite was that one had the chance and ability to do so. Otherwise, no matter who it was, there would be no mercy. This battle was no longer just a battle for the ownership of the Emperor Jade Essence. It also represented the glory of the 10 major galaxies. That was because this was the first fair battle since the start of the primitive mystic realm. It was a battle between the top geniuses. Without a doubt, the situation here would be transmitted to the various galaxies through their own methods. Cultivators needed to gather providence, and so did the various powers. The galaxies and even the universe were no exception. And this was undoubtedly the best opportunity to gather providence. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The Tyrant's Chaos Galaxy, the Bug Race's King Galaxy, the Deity Race's Divine Realm Galaxy, the Human Race's Vast Universe Galaxy, the Dark Demon Race's Darkness Galaxy, the Winged Race's Flying Sky Galaxy, the Succubus Race's Desire Galaxy, the Elf Race's Nature Galaxy, the Sky Fiend Race's Demon King Galaxy, and the Spirit Race's Spirit Realm Galaxy. Tens of billions of cultivators from the 10 major galaxies gathered like locusts toward the Emperor Jade Essence area from all directions under the orders of their respective leaders and top experts. Boom 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 boom. At this moment, the energy and fighting spirit that was released caused the entire area to turn blood red. Their fighting spirit was overwhelming. Under this kind of overwhelming fighting spirit, not to mention the ordinary cultivators, even the top masters of the 10 major galaxies were shocked. Even if this was a group of ants, if they gathered together, it was enough to annihilate any master. The general trend. This was the legendary pressure that would only appear in the Starfield battlefield. It was formed by gathering the essence, energy, and spirit of countless cultivators. Under this kind of general trend, it was like the soldiers in the army. It was as if they were possessed by gods and devils, and they could unleash unimaginable combat strength. In fact, it was the human heart and destiny. One person might be insignificant, but billions of people were enough to change the world. Sand gathered to form a tower, rivers converged to form an ocean. Those who are just get more help, those who are unjust get little help. Everyone's support invincible. This is the principle. The power of faith of the Buddhist sects was also based on the same principle. After changing his image, Chun Hao, who was mixed in the human army, felt his blood boiling. In the overwhelming general trend, he felt that he was as small as a grain of sand. However, he was a part of it. With endless willpower and battle intent, he seemed to have formed a subtle connection with each cultivator in the human army. It was invisible and intangible, but it really existed. His soul, state of mind, and will seem to be undergoing a vast and magnificent baptism. Deep in thought, he seemed to have comprehended something. Every cell and every drop of blood began to boil. In just a few minutes, Chun Hao fell into an extremely painful torment. The influence of this general trend made his blood boil, and his whole body was about to burn. He wanted to release his essence, energy, and spirit at all costs, but he couldn't. At this moment, once he released it, it meant that he would trigger the divine punishment of a small realm. This was not what he wanted. He could only crazily suppress the desire in his heart. In such a state, Chun Hao was experiencing a battle with the devil in his heart, and this devil was the will of countless human compatriots. Brother, at this time, why are you still hiding? Release yourself to your heart's content. Strengthen the prestige and momentum of the human race, and cheer for the warriors of the human race. This is what we should do. I'm about to break through the realm, but my foundation is not solid. Do you think I want to suppress it? Brother, you're just at the middle stage of the heaven celestial stage. If you break through, so be it. Can you trigger the divine punishment? You won't lose anything. In the heaven celestial stage, it's normal that you can't break through the realm of Daluo Jingxian for thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. There's plenty of time to make up for your foundation. That's not the same. In different realms, only when you're in a certain realm can you fully comprehend it. Well, thank you for your reminders, but I have my principles. If I really can't help it, I'll explode. Chun Hao's expression became extremely twisted and painful. After he finished speaking, he didn't dare to be distracted by explaining. You deserve it. You've been in closed-door cultivation for 200 years, and you don't come out to experience it. Now you know how painful it is, right? However, Hu Mainyang, who had been paying attention to Chun Hao, sent him a message to tease him at this time. I don't want to bother with you. If you're envious, just say it. Envious? My foundation is solid, and my state of mind is perfect. I don't need this kind of training that causes internal injuries. You'd better enjoy it alone. If you can't bear it, you can ask me for help. When the time comes, you can give me 1/10 of your share of the Emperor Jade Essence. I can help you isolate some of the influence. Fuck. Dream on. I'd rather explode. I don't care. Almost the same thing happened in the human army. A few cultivators who had changed their appearances were mixed in with the crowd. The reason was simple. Although they hadn't reached the stage where they could suppress their essence, chi and spirit, in order to hide their strength, they had forcibly suppressed at least half of their aura. Therefore, at this time, they had to endure it. Of course, compared to Chun Hao, their endurance was much easier. At least on the surface, they could still be calm and collected. These people were naturally members of the proud heavens. One of them, although half of his aura was concealed, was still terrifying to the surrounding cultivators. This person was none other than Coiling Dragon. At this moment, his body had shrunk to 1/3 of its original size, and he was barely able to take on the appearance of an ordinary person. His primordial beast aura was 99% concealed by the form-changing ring. If Chun Hao hadn't temporarily let him use the form-changing ring, he probably wouldn't have been able to fool the surrounding cultivators. There was no helping it. This fellow's aura was simply too strong, and his mark was too obvious. This is so annoying. Senior brother, why do you have to do this? How great would it be to fight to the end with a bang? It's too painful. Not only do you have to hide your strength at this time, you have to do it in the middle of the battle. This is simply torturing me. Chapter 803. Although Coiling Dragon was not in as much pain as Chun Hao, the torment in his heart was no less than Chun Hao's. This guy was wild and warlike by nature. He had taken out countless treasures to set up an arena for battle. In the whole primitive secret realm and the 10 major galaxies, he was probably the only one who could do such a thing. And now he had to endure it. One could imagine how stifling it was. But he had to listen to Chen Hao's words. And he also knew that this was the wisest thing to do. Otherwise, it would be harder for the human race to get first place than to reach the heavens. First, the foreign race experts who were as strong as Hu Meinyang were known to be the top expert of the insect race, Morichis, the first and second of the tyrants, Chu Fengyang and Shiwa Xingnan, and Yefeng of the Protoss. What about those who were unknown? You would never know how many trump cards a real monstrous genius had unless it was a life and death battle. Just like Lu Qianye, who had claimed the top position of the Protoss in a high-profile manner, but had been kicked out, who would believe that he did not have a hidden trump card when he dared to challenge the three people in front of him. Second, killing God Chen Hao and the members of Aotion had long become a thorn in the side of all the cultivators except the human race. If they knew that they would appear at the beginning, it would inevitably lead to strong attacks from the other side's top experts. Every battle would have to be arranged according to their order. Chen Hao was not afraid, but the members of Aotion had to be careful. Sometimes, the other side would not give you a chance just because you wanted to admit defeat. This was a battle without any mercy. To be able to kill the other side was what every participant wanted to do. Whoosh! Rumble! As the densely packed teams gathered in all directions, their auras surged and collided. Within a radius of 1,000,000 miles, the wind raged and the air exploded. Within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, the sky and the ground were clearly divided into a huge area. The time has come. According to the ranking of the galaxies, I, Chu Feiyang, will be in charge for the time being. Everyone, do you have any objections? Since everyone is silent, it means that you have agreed. Haha. Chi. Chu Feiyang's faint voice resounded in a radius of tens of thousands of miles, clearly passing into the ears of tens of billions of cultivators. Just this cultivation alone was enough to shock the world. As he spoke, he pointed out a finger. In an instant, a stream of light shot towards the center of the huge mountain in the center of a radius of 5,000 miles. Its speed was not fast, but wherever it passed, the energy of heaven and earth madly gathered and was swallowed by that stream of light, causing the aura of the stream of light to become more and more powerful. When it reached the huge mountain, it had already become a finger that was even bigger than the mountain itself. Rumble. Soon after, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Chaos broke through the sky, and brilliant light flickered. It only lasted for a second before calmness was restored. However, it made countless cultivators gasp. Too powerful. It was a full 2,500 miles long, and he had flattened it with a finger. Even the average Daluo Jinxian would find it difficult to do so. The number one person in the tyrants is really terrifying. How terrifying. This was just the tip of the iceberg, and it was already so strong. Fuck, so what if I become the Daluo Jinxian? A monster is a monster. He can even make up for the difference in cultivation level. That finger has swallowed all the gravel, but it still hasn't dissipated. What's going on? Countless people stared blankly at the number one expert of the tyrants, Chu Feiyang, who was 2,500 miles away and had activated the energy of heaven and earth to cut a huge mountain from the middle into a huge platform. 5,500 miles. The first 5 people to reach the peak will choose the galaxies of the remaining 5 people as their opponents in the elimination round according to the order of arrival. However, this distance is too short. The 10 of us will retreat 50,000 miles away. Everyone get ready. The moment my devouring finger disappears, it will be the signal for us to start. Isn't this fair? Don't worry, you should be able to sense that my divine sense has been cut off. Everyone's reaction time is exactly the same. It can still last for 10 minutes. Don't be too nervous. There's plenty of time to prepare. Haha. Chu Fengyang, your method is unfair. At this moment, the leader of the Dark Demon clan, Tai Jinping, suddenly said coldly, "Oh, it's very fair. What's wrong with it?" Humph, now everyone knows that the human clan is basically the weakest, but they have Hu Meinyang, the number one expert. Your method completely shows the speed of the number one expert of the 10 galaxies. Is it fair? Then do you have a better method? Chu Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "There's no arbitration team. and there's no expert of a higher realm presiding. Other than this method, it's easier to control things like drawing lots, right? Besides, the value of the number one expert has its own value. The rules of the competition itself have already restricted a lot. Otherwise, do you believe that I alone can wipe out the 10 people of the Dark Demon Clan? Miss Who can also do the same, right? You, the leader of the Dark Demon Clan, Tai Jinping, directly vomited blood, but he had no words to refute. Since you've tacitly agreed that I, Chu Feiyang, will be presiding, then don't be long-winded with me. The strong are not afraid of all challenges. The tyrants will not fight for the top 5. Who dares to choose the tyrants first? Chu Feiyang said proudly. His voice shook the sky, and he was insufferably arrogant. But in just a few words, countless cultivators of the tyrants were agitated, and their aura suddenly became more magnificent and powerful. The Dark Demon Clan was abnormally oppressed. Many people were even dissatisfied with the idiotic behavior of their leader, Tai Jinping. Those who were a little smarter could understand that if Hu Meinyang was the first to arrive on the platform, and had the right to choose her opponent first, who would she choose? Naturally, she would choose the Dark Demon Clan, which was also at the bottom. This was undoubtedly the best combination. Whether it was for the Human Clan or the Dark Demon Clan, it was also the only chance for them to advance. If any of the other 5 galaxies took the lead and chose the Dark Demon Clan, the Dark Demon Clan would basically lose all hope of advancing. But no one else said anything, and the leader of the Dark Demon Clan said it was unfair. If this was not a retard, what was? Miss Who, you must get the number 1. Yes, only by getting the number 1 can we have hope of advancing. Countless cultivators of the Human Clan began to shout. They stared at Hu Meinyang, who had a calm expression and was in perfect harmony with the great Tao of heaven and earth. When the cultivators of the Human Clan shouted this sentence, they had unknowingly weakened their own aura. But this was the truth. In the Human Clan, other than Hu Meinyang, the other 9 members of the starting lineup were also backup lineups. Indeed, they did not have any advantage. Today's battle was the only battle. After entering the top 5, they could only honestly ask for the 5th place and get 10% of the Emperor Jade Essence area. Otherwise, it would be a meaningless sacrifice. Meinyang will get the number 1. Hu Meinyang's red lips moved slightly, and her ethereal and seductive voice clearly entered everyone's ears. Chapter 804. At this moment, Hu Meinyang was undoubtedly the most dazzling one among the hundreds of millions of cultivators from the 10 major galaxies. Her peerless figure was extremely enchanting, holy and charming at the same time. Her eyes were as clear as the autumn water, blooming with amazing charm that made the heavens and the earth dim in comparison. Everyone could see that under her calm appearance, there was a strong sense of confidence shining out. Even the top experts from the other galaxies were secretly praising her. Even though they were from different races, it did not affect Hu Meinyang's attractiveness to them. If such a woman could become a cultivation partner, it would be a great joy in life. Whether it was glory or cultivation, there was no harm in it. However, at this time, no matter how retarded they were, it was not the time to express their admiration for Hu Meinyang. At the same time, everyone knew that to conquer such a woman was no less difficult than to reach the peak of martial arts. However, no one knew that Hu Meinyang's confidence came from Chen Hao and the members of Aotion who were hiding in the dark. The number 1, she said, was not only the number 1 in the competition for the right to choose the opponent, but also the number 1 in the final ranking of the competition. Damn it, can you not be so disgusting? No one knew that the others were impressed by Hu Meinyang's elegance, and were cheering for her in their hearts. Even Pan Long, Du Jing, and the other women who had a deep prejudice against Hu Meinyang felt that Hu Meinyang's performance was very good. At this time, Chen Hao, who was enduring endless torment, could not help but scold her through telepathy. Will you die if you don't confuse people? Meinyang, Meinyang, Meinyang. Take it out and tell me that I'm fierce. That's what I call domineering. What does it have to do with you what I want to do? Are you jealous? I'm not your woman. Why do you care so much? Damn it. I can't be bothered with you. I must get the number 1 for me. If we can choose the weakest opponent, we can hide our strength for a longer time. Chen Hao was speechless by Hu Meinyang's words. He could only say domineeringly, I'm not working for you. I'm getting it for myself, not for the human race. Don't pretend to be a big shot in front of me. I'm the leader of the human race. Okay. Chen Hao shut his mouth, but his pride was aroused by Hu Meinyang. Damn it, I don't believe that I can't tame a rouge horse like you. There will be a day when I will ride you beneath me and make you submit to me. Get ready. Retreat 50,000 li each. Qi. Qi. Along with Chu Feiyang's voice, the top 10 experts simultaneously turned into a stream of light, but no one was too fast or too slow. They didn't reveal how fast their speed was, and used 2 minutes to retreat 50,000 miles. In his powerful perception, the distance between the 10 people and the core platform was accurate to within an inch. Boom. Boom 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 boom. Finally, the moment Chu Fengyang's condensed fingerprints dissipated, 10 terrifying roars erupted from the 10 great experts of the 10 major galaxies almost at the same time. Each one of them was like a cannonball, piercing the void and rushing toward the core platform. This was undoubtedly equivalent to a speed competition between the top 10 masters. Although speed couldn't represent one's true strength, how could the proud geniuses be willing to be below others in the presence of cultivators from the top 10 galaxies? This was a clash of wits. Chu Feiyang. Chu Fengyang. Hu Meinyang. Hu Meinyang. Morichis. Morichis. In an instant, the cheers of tens of billions of cultivators resounded through the world. The earth trembled, the mountains roared, and the air was exploding. Chu Feiyang, Hu Meinyang and Morichis are neck and neck, slightly ahead. Although it was only a thin line, the cultivators could see it clearly. First place, no one can compete with me, Chu Feiyang. Chi. Chu Feiyang suddenly accelerated again. Humph, first place is mine, Morichis. The 9-headed alien, the extremely enchanting central head and the extremely terrifying 8 snake heads, suddenly bloomed with different colors of light, and its speed also soared abruptly. Buzz. But at the same time, Hu Meinyang's body suddenly shone with bright runes, and her body transformed. Like a heavenly sword piercing through the sky, the instantaneous explosive speed was even more astonishing. Nye Fan, the #1 expert of the divine race who rose like a dark horse, also displayed a terrifying explosive power at this moment. His speed was astonishing, and he was almost completely flying with his physical strength and vital essence. The divine race's innate weakness in their understanding of supernatural powers was undoubtedly that it was difficult for them to master powerful flying skills. But even so, he was only a little behind Hu Meinyang, Chu Feiyang and Morichis, and temporarily ranked 4th. The Wings clan and the Elf clan, 2 races with wings, were born with supernatural powers that had the advantage of flying. But in the face of such a super abnormal genius, their natural talent advantage was no longer an advantage. However, these 2 experts were almost tied for 5th place. Boom. Boom 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 boom. In a few breaths' time the dust settled. Hu Meinyang, surrounded by endless laws, was the first to reach the top. Almost a few tenths of a second's advantage, followed by Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants, Morichis of the Insect clan, Nye Fan of the Divine Race, and the #1 expert of the Elf clan. Everyone was a few tenths of a second's difference, or even a few tenths of a second's difference. Other than sophisticated detectors, perhaps only these experts of the heavenly immortal realm could distinguish that little difference. Fortunately, it's useful. Her speed is not much slower than Huan Huan and Leilei's great teleportation technique. She's really an abnormal beauty. Chen Hao stared at Hu Meinyang, who was the first to reach the top, and thought to himself, Hu Meinyang of the human clan is indeed powerful. She has an innate Taoist embryo, a body that has turned into a weapon, and thousands of laws resonated. Chu Feiyang and Morichi's speed is actually not as fast as her. Hu Meinyang! Hu Meinyang! Hu Meinyang! At this moment, the aura of the human clan soared to the sky, and they burst into crazy cheers. Everyone, whether they could see clearly or not, was staring at Hu Meinyang's peerless figure, and their emotions were surging. Miss Hu, the innate Taoist embryo, is indeed extraordinary. Although the distance is too short, I'm ashamed of my speed. Staring at the almost perfect Hu Meinyang at a close distance, Chu Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he suppressed his unhappiness of being robbed of the limelight. He pretended to be generous and said gently with cupped fists, "If the distance was a little further, how could I, Morichis, lose?" Putting away the 8 snake heads, Morichis, whose figure had become extremely enchanting and seductive, did not hide his unhappiness of being robbed of the first place at all, and said unconvinced, "It's just speed, it doesn't represent combat power." Nye Fan of the God Clan said lightly, and there was no trace of unhappiness on his face, but he also did not put everyone in his eyes. Everyone knew about speed. The God Clan, who had flaws in their supernatural powers and supreme techniques, lost in speed was not shameful. "Thank you for letting me win. Brother Chu, should we invite the last 5 contestants to come out?" Hu Meinyang did not even look at Morichis and Nye Fan, who were provoking her. With a faint smile on her lips, she asked directly. That indifferent look on his face made Morichis' face burn with anger. Chapter 805. Contestants. Chu Feiyang was slightly taken aback, but he immediately said, "That's right. When choosing opponents, we naturally have to see the contestants from the major galaxies to compare. Winged Clan, Goblin Clan, Heavenly Fiend Clan, Phantom Clan, Dark Demon Clan, please come to the stage. All of you hide your aura. Other than Hu Meinyang, the rest of the humans are nothing to be afraid of. If we are chosen by her, we will have a chance to advance. If we face the tyrants, Zergs, and Protoss, we are dead meat. When Hu Meinyang is done choosing, if she doesn't choose us, raise your aura to the peak. This way, we will have a chance to fight the elves at the end. Do you understand?" Almost at the same time, the leaders of the last 5 galaxies, including the brainless leader of the Dark Demon Clan, realized what was going on. They all sent voice transmissions to the other 9 top experts representing their respective galaxies. Everyone knew that Hu Meinyang, who won the right to be the first to choose her opponent, would definitely choose the one she felt was the weakest. Otherwise, the humans would have a slim chance of advancing. Similarly, among the top 5, the tyrants, Zergs, and Protoss were basically guaranteed to be in the top 5. No one in the bottom 5 could eliminate them. It didn't matter if they chose anyone. As for the elves, who were ranked 5th, although they said they had the right to choose, they could only choose the remaining contestants from the 4 galaxies. Therefore, being the first to be chosen, and the last to be left was the best situation. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The remaining 45 experts from the 5 races flew over from different directions in an instant. However, everyone suppressed some of their aura, and didn't appear too fake. They gave people the feeling that they could determine the depth of their aura, as long as they sensed it carefully. Although everyone knew that it was impossible for Hu Meinyang to not think of it, they could only do so to have a chance of being chosen. "Miss Hu, everyone is here. Please." Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants said directly to Hu Meinyang without even looking at the 45 people who came. Similarly, Morichis of the Zergs and Nye Fan of the Protoss only stared at Hu Meinyang. They didn't seem to care about the strength of the 45 people. This was built on the basis of absolute confidence. In fact, in their minds, only the 3 major races had the strength to contend against the celestial race. There was no difference between the other races. Hu Meinyang nodded gently. Her eyes instantly became incomparably resplendent as she swept her gaze across the cultivators of the 5 clans. At this moment, anyone who was caught in Hu Meinyang's gaze was shaken. Even the Succubus clan, who were gifted with the ability to create all kinds of illusions, were no exception at this moment. Their auras were instantly dazzled. This scene caused Chu Feiyang and the other 9 great commanders to frown slightly. Their gazes towards Hu Meinyang also became serious. The pinnacle of the 9th layer of the Red Dust Heart Sutra had easily dispelled everyone's disguise. Powerful. Even Chen Hao had to admit that Hu Meinyang had done a better job than he had expected. She was meticulous and her acting skills were superb. One must know that Chen Hao had directly asked Hu Meinyang to be the first to choose the Dark Demon race at the beginning. However, Hu Meinyang didn't do so. News was news. Only by seeing the participants for themselves could one know who was strong and who was weak. This was undoubtedly much safer. At the same time, it also let all the galaxies understand that Hu Meinyang was serious because the human race was too weak. While the other party hid their auras, Hu Meinyang used her extraordinary, domineering, and absolute strength to directly dazzle the other party's auras and make them unable to hide. The people who come out won't be replaced in the elimination round, right? Hu Meinyang asked Chu Feiyang again after checking everyone. Of course not. If someone is replaced, they will be eliminated directly. Miss Hu, feel free to choose. Chu Feiyang stared at Hu Meinyang with bright eyes. The more he looked at her, the more tempted he was. Although he was the #1 expert of the Tyrants was only a nominal name. They were a mixed race, but their bloodline was the pure-blooded human race. One could imagine how great the temptation Hu Meinyang had for him was. Then how will the order of appearance be determined in the duel? Hu Meinyang asked. This is very simple. The galaxies in the last 5 groups will have one person stand out first, and we will casually arrange for our contestants to appear on stage. For the second round, we will have one person stand out first, and the remaining 5 groups will casually arrange for their remaining contestants to appear on stage. We can take turns. Chu Feiyang said directly after thinking for a while. Even asking for opinions was not necessary. That's good. Meinyang chooses. Hu Meinyang's red lips parted slightly. Her eyes swept across the leaders of the last 5 major galaxies. Back and forth, it seemed to be quite difficult for her to choose. The people of the 5 major galaxies all looked nervous. They were eager to be chosen by Hu Meinyang. At this moment, there was complete silence within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Those who were close by could see. Those who were far away could not see. And those who could not even sense, but they could all hear Hu Meinyang's voice. Therefore, they were all waiting nervously for the result. Heavenly Fiend Clan. What? Ah. Ha 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 ha. Miss Hu, thank you so much. I didn't expect you to choose us, the Heavenly Fiend Clan. Ha ha ha. Don't worry, the Heavenly Fiend Clan will be merciful. We will try our best to give your people a quick death as a token of our gratitude for giving us a chance to enter the top 5, or even the top 4. Ha ha ha. The leader of the Heavenly Fiend Clan said with a wild laugh. He really did not expect Hu Meinyang to choose them, because he had looked carefully just now. The weakest was undoubtedly the Dark Fiend Clan. Even their leader was an idiot. How good could the remaining 9 be? And yet, Hu Meinyang had chosen them. This was undoubtedly a meat pie that fell from the sky. Naturally, it made him excited. However, the message revealed by this meat pie also undoubtedly contained Hu Meinyang's contempt for the Heavenly Fiend Clan. It clearly told everyone that Hu Meinyang thought that the Heavenly Fiend Clan was the weakest. Therefore, this guy was both excited and angry. The words he said were naturally arrogant and despotic. At this time, the cultivators of the Heavenly Fiend Clan were clamoring with their leader. In addition to their excitement, they also clamored for the human race to understand the strength of the Heavenly Fiend Clan. And in the human race, other than Chun Hao and the members of Proud Heaven, including the 9 confirmed cultivators of the human race, all showed a surprised expression. They did not understand why Hu Meinyang would choose the relatively stronger Heavenly Fiend Clan. But at this time, no one doubted Hu Meinyang. The prestige she had established in the human race made most people believe that Hu Meinyang must have her reasons for making such a choice. That's right. If it were me, I would also choose the Heavenly Fiend Clan, and not the Dark Fiend Clan. Chun Hao thought in his heart. The Heavenly Fiend Clan has 4 weaker ones and 6 stronger ones. Hu Meinyang's choice, if her battle strategy and luck are good, she indeed has a better chance of advancing than the Dark Fiend Clan, whose strength is average. Chu Feiyang and the other experts saw clearly and understood Hu Meinyang's intentions. It's my tyrant's turn to choose. I will choose the Dark Fiend Clan. Chu Feiyang said directly. Chapter 806. In the knockout round, if they could choose the weak, they would naturally choose the weak. After all, no matter how weak they were still the top 10 experts in their respective galaxies. No one dared to say that they could defeat the other party without suffering any injuries. If they could minimize their casualties, they would naturally choose to minimize their casualties. Preserving their strength for the top 5 was the key. Immediately after, Morichis from the Zerg and Niefan from the Protoss chose the Goblin and Phantom tribes respectively. The remaining Elves and Winged tribes formed the Winged tribe. It had to be said that these two tribes were the most suitable. Firstly, the leaders of the two tribes were evenly matched. The elves entered the top 5, and the Wing tribe was 6th. Secondly, among the top 10 experts, although the Wing tribe and Wing tribe did not display the advantage of flying, it did not mean that they could not use it in a duel. Their speed in a small area, dodging, and attacking advantages were extremely difficult to deal with. This was also the reason why the tyrants, Zerg, and Protoss did not choose the Wing tribe. Including me, I can only guarantee 2 victories. The other 2 victories depend on the opportunity. You have to send at least 3 people. Decide now, it's about to start. Hu Meinyang sent a voice transmission to Chen Hao after choosing the Heavenly Fiend tribe. No problem. Other than her, Chen Hao, and the others, no one knew that Aotion had arrived. Even the 10 experts who decided to participate in the competition were kept in the dark. Otherwise, even if the 10 of them did not reveal it, their abnormal mentality would have revealed some clues. How could a little wind not cause waves? Once word got out, their concealment would be meaningless. In order to not surprise the human cultivators, Hu Meinyang had already announced that there were 10 warriors who were willing to sacrifice themselves for the human race. However, she did not announce their names. She only said that it was up to her to decide who would go on stage and no objections. The cultivators who had signed up and announced their names naturally did not have any objections. Who was willing to sacrifice themselves? It was only because they were forced to this point, and their strength was there, that they decided to fight for the glory of the human race. That's good. You just need to inform your people who will go on stage. I will arrange my people. Also, let everyone who goes on stage disguise their aura. It's best to change their appearance to confuse the public. Chen Hao said. The participants only needed to get on the stage before the battle started. Once they got on the stage, they could not be changed. This didn't mean that the 10 people who appeared in the knockout round had to appear in the top 5. The tyrants, the Zergs, and the Protoss all had a lot of backup combat power aside from the top 10. If they changed their opponent to another galaxy, they could casually change 10 people. There would be no restrictions. I don't need you to tell me, Hu Meinyang said directly. She knew full well that Proud Heavens members had to disguise their auras and appearances, and the others had to do the same. Moreover, if nothing unexpected happened, the participants from other galaxies would also be able to disguise their auras. After all, when the time came, they would take turns to go on stage, and let the other party decide who would go on stage. Now that the opponents have been chosen, I would like to invite everyone to join me in laying down restrictions on Broken Peak as a duel arena. Chi. Along with Chu Feiyang's words, Hu Meinyang and the others didn't hesitate and directly made their moves. In an instant, terrifying energy fluctuations and endless mysterious runes rose up. The entire flattened mountain peak was simultaneously laid down by the 10 great experts with an incomparably powerful restriction. The 10 people represented the strongest of the 10 galaxies. The restrictions laid down by the 10 people were naturally able to withstand the battles of all the participants present. Miss Hu, let your people come on stage. Chu Feiyang, the host, said to Hu Meinyang with a smile after the restrictions were formed. Hiss. Hu Meinyang gently waved her hand, and 100 miles behind her, the 10 people who had already been prepared rose into the air in an instant. Ah! I've been suffocating. I can finally breathe. Coiling Dragon, whose body had shrunk to 1/3 of its original size, emitted a very ordinary aura under the cover of the appearance-changing ring. At best, he was ranked 7th among the 10 participants of the human race. Although he was shouting in his heart, his face carried a heroic expression of sacrifice for the human race that had been forced by Chen Hao in the past 2 days. Junior brother, you only need to win a Pyrrhic victory, otherwise you won't have a share in the future. Chen Hao looked at Coiling Dragon's pained expression, and had to remind him again. It was reasonable to say that Coiling Dragon shouldn't be allowed to come on stage at all, but under this guy's bitter pleading, Chen Hao was also afraid that this guy would really suffocate, so he could only let him go on stage first. With the cover of the appearance-changing ring, as long as this guy didn't lose control, there wouldn't be a problem. Understood. I will definitely win a Pyrrhic victory. Senior Marshal brother, you can rest assured. I guarantee that I will be more miserable than you. Coiling Dragon transmitted his voice with incomparable firmness. Coiling Dragon's words made Chen Hao directly mourn for his opponent. Fuck, this was obviously a masochist who wanted to torture the abuser to death. Isn't that the brother we've met before? He's actually one of the other 10 warriors who signed up. What a good person. Looks like his strength is definitely not bad. In the crowd, Niu Air, who claimed to be Lanfeng's sworn brother, immediately exclaimed in surprise when he saw the familiar face Chen Hao had disguised himself as. His aura and appearance have all changed, so who knows who is who? Who cares so much, he's a warrior anyway. After the battle, he will naturally be exposed. These are all heroes of the human race, so even if he dies, he will still be martyrs. That's right, that's right. Apart from Chen Hao and Coiling Dragon, there was also a fair and handsome youth with a serious expression. Needless to say, this was naturally Chen Shui, who possessed an extremely perverse transformation ability. Coiling Dragon had the appearance-changing ring, while Chen Hao and Chen Shui had the ability to merge with all things in the world. Moreover, they didn't have any obvious characteristics, so they were undoubtedly the easiest to conceal. This was especially true for Chen Shui, who could conceal her feminine aura and transform into a man. So who would be able to guess that it was her? However, at this moment, Chen Hao's appearance was the most ferocious because he had to forcibly suppress the battle intent and aura in his heart. What a lunatic! Hu Meinyang transmitted her voice after seeing Chen Hao enter the arena. Don't make a mistake and expose yourself. This is exciting and challenging. What do you know? Chen Hao reprimanded. I know you. Fuck. Emph. Hu Meinyang raised her chin slightly. Although she didn't look in Chen Hao's direction, her proud snort and appearance made Chen Hao grit his teeth. First group, the human race's vast universe galaxy versus the heavenly demon race's Demon King galaxy. Heavenly demon race, your first contestant to enter the arena. Without wasting any time, while everyone was still discussing spiritedly, Chu Feiyang, who was acting as the host, spoke crisply. Humph. Hu Meinyang, even if you've clearly detected our aura, it doesn't matter. Fujioka, you enter the arena. Remember, be straightforward and don't drag it out for too long. It's fine as long as the losses outweigh the gains. The leader of the heavenly demon race said with a sinister smile, his eyes flashing with a ferocity that anyone could see. Chapter 807. Don't worry, Brother Fujiwara. I, Fujioka, will know my limits. Keek swish. The first contestant from the Heavenly Fiend clan, Fujioka, laughed sinisterly as he suddenly turned into a stream of light and stepped into the barrier of Broken Peak. His entire body exuded a blood-red demonic aura, and his killing intent was awe-inspiring. Fujioka was the fourth strongest of the 10 contestants from the Heavenly Fiend clan. Fujiwara, the leader of the Heavenly Fiend clan, felt that it was the most reasonable reason for him to fight. Hu Meinyang would never fight Fujioka, and among the other humans, at most 2 could hope to fight Fujioka. The outcome was still uncertain. This was the only way to limit the humans' performance. Whether the humans sent out a strong or weak contestant, the Heavenly Fiend clan would not lose much. If the weak contestant came, Fujioka would definitely win. He was ranked 4th and did not waste much resources. If the strong contestant came, as long as it was not Hu Meinyang, Fujioka's chances of winning were still very high. The Heavenly Fiend clan believed that Hu Meinyang would not dare to waste the opportunity. The human elites would definitely stay to deal with the weak contestants that they were certain of winning. If they made a mistake, their already slim hope might turn into despair. Even Chu Feiyang and the others from the Tyrants thought the same. There was no doubt that the Heavenly Fiend clan's decision to send out Fujioka first was a very wise one. Come. Who dares to fight me, Fujioka? Hu Meinyang, I don't mind if you come up, ha. Fujioka said arrogantly as he looked provocatively at Hu Meinyang and the others outside the barrier. Little Shui, you go. Chen Hao directly transmitted his voice. You go. Just as Chen Hao was about to transmit his voice to Hu Meinyang looked directly at Chen Shui, her eyes shining. Hu Meinyang already knew everything about Chen Shui. Although she had never met the Proud Heavens members after they arrived, She could tell that the fair-skinned youth who had changed his gender was Chen Shui. All right. Swish. Chen Shui's valiant and slender figure immediately transformed into a ray of flowing light and stepped into the seal. The expression on her face was incomparably solemn, as if she was facing a great enemy. The aura hidden around her body also rapidly soared, seemingly gathering to the peak without holding back. She's so strong? Could she be the second or third strongest of the humans? The aura that Chen Shui released was faintly on par with Tungang, which was out of everyone's expectations. After all, Hu Manyang had used the Red Dust Heart Sutra to disrupt the Sky Demon Clan's concealment of aura, and everyone knew that Fujioka was an elite ranked in the middle of the Sky Demon Clan. Even if true combat ability was not determined by aura was the only way to judge and must be taken into consideration. However, Hu Manyang's arrangement was clearly not the best choice in the eyes of some smart people, and carried a great risk. Once Chen Shui lost, it would mean that the human race had lost an expert against a weakling from the Heaven Devil race. But risks and benefits coexisted. If Chen Shui won, then the human race's chances of advancing would undoubtedly increase greatly. Tell me your name. I, Fujioka, do not kill nameless people. Fujioka's expression was still arrogant, but there was a trace of seriousness between his brows. Fujioka's question was something that everyone, including the human race, wanted to know the answer to. Bai Tian. Chen Shui hesitated for a moment before reporting a name. At this moment, if he didn't even report his name, it would indeed be a little unreasonable. But it definitely couldn't be too obvious. Like Chen Hao's name, which could easily be associated with Chen Ritian, it definitely couldn't be done. Bai Tian, in comparison, was much more reserved, taking snow as white, taking the sky as vast. But, after Chen Shui reported it, he regretted it a little. As expected, Chen Hao's gaze became strange and excited. Oh heavens, Bai Tian? Ha. What a good name. I'm Yi Yi. Let this Yi Yi bring you into the endless darkness and sleep there forever. Ha. Clang. Boom. Fujioka unsheathed his sword, and the true essence around his body immediately circulated violently. Endless crimson demonic aura instantly spread out and pressed down on Chen Shui. Buzz. Chen Shui's body suddenly trembled. In an instant, the space around him shook, and his figure disappeared. Immediately after, an incomparably sharp sword light suddenly appeared out of thin air, containing the endless power of lightning, and attacked Fujioka. The mysteries of space and lightning fused into one? This pretty boy is a little tricky. Fujioka was shocked. He, who had originally planned to use his violent strength to directly trample Chen Shui, suddenly changed his tactics at this moment, and became agile. Boom. Rumble. Chi. Energy exploded, wreaking havoc. The two of them separated upon contact, but immediately after, thousands of sword lights containing magical runes flashed out. The top experts of the major galaxies are indeed powerful. Even Chen Hao secretly praised in his heart. The seemingly violent Fujioka undoubtedly had extremely exquisite combat skills and rich battle experience. Facing Chen Shui, who had fused the mysteries of space and lightning, if he continued to attack, it would obviously be unwise. It would only exhaust his energy, and in the end he would be killed by Chen Shui because he ran out of energy first. Because Chen Shui, who had comprehended the mysteries of space to such a level, was undoubtedly a character who appeared and disappeared unpredictably, and came and went like lightning. Coupled with the lightning-fast attack of Chen Shui, and Chen Shui's strength that was not weaker than his, directly trampling her was already impossible. The only way was to fight back and preserve his strength. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Chi. Boom boom boom. The figures of the two flickered in the seal, leaving behind afterimages. Sword lights danced in the sky and fiercely collided. For a moment, countless cultivators were dazzled and overwhelmed. As expected of a showdown between the top experts of the galaxy, they are already so strong. If Chu Feiyang of the Tyrant race and Hu Manyang of the human race were to fight, what would the scene be like? Countless people were horrified and secretly thought, Bai Tian, must be a low-key expert of our vast universe galaxy. He's really strong, and he's not at a disadvantage at all. If he can win this battle, the chances of us appearing will be higher. Yes. The human race cultivators looked at Chen Shui's elusive figure and the powerful strength she displayed. Their emotions surged and they clenched their fists. They were even more nervous than when they went up to fight. By Tian. No one knew that among the 10 experts of the human race, the only girl besides Hu Mainyang, who had changed her appearance but was still the second most outstanding person of the human race, was muttering in her heart at this moment. She stared at Chen Shui, who was fighting in the seal, thoughtfully. It can't be her. Bailey Ningbing shook her head slightly and thought to herself. If she is Chen Shui, then she and Ao Tian must have already arrived. With his domineering and arrogant personality, how can he be low-key? He will kill all the way, and blood will flow like a river. Bailey Ningbing was undoubtedly one of the people who understood Chen Hao and the women around him the most. As for the news that Chen Shui could transform into a man, let alone her, even countless cultivators of the other races knew about it. Chapter 808. In reality, most of the secrets regarding killing God Chen Hao and the members of Ao Tian were no longer secrets. After becoming the most dazzling existences of the human race, and even the entire primal secret realm, their desire for gossip had been ignited. What could they hide? As long as it was exposed in front of others, there was nowhere to hide. When Chen Shui and Long Ting were in the aircraft, the news of Chen Shui transforming into a man had long been spread by the human race cultivators in the aircraft. Coupled with Chen Shui's obscure name and Bailey Ningbing's understanding of Chen Shui, as well as her sharp intuition as a woman, she thought of Chen Shui. However, because she knew Chen Hao's character better, she denied it. One had to say, if Chen Hao did not listen to Han Mei's advice, he would most likely be like Bailey Ningbing. Even if he comes, what can I do? Bailey Ningbing's heart sank. A trace of bitterness appeared at the corner of her mouth. Since I can't forget, why should I? The words Han Mei said to her when she first met her appeared in her mind. However, Bailey Ningbing could not face it, nor did she know what to do. She was who she was. She had her pride and her persistence. She couldn't pitifully admit defeat and curry favor with him. What happened had already happened. It could never be erased. Although she had a different state of mind and understanding, as well as regret and disappointment, she knew that if she could go back in time, she would still walk the same path. Fortunately, he was abnormally strong. Otherwise, the result would be different. Boom. Rumble. Chen Shui and Teng Gang's battle lasted for more than 10 minutes. Both of them had expended a lot of energy. Whether it was spirit, qi or true yuan, they were all disconnected. However, both of them were still fighting with all their might. Suddenly, they collided head-on and both of them flew backwards. Pooh. Whether it was Chen Shui or Teng Gang, at this moment, they both spat out a mouthful of blood. Their blood dyed the sky as they fell to the ground. I will never lose to you. Chen Shui's eyes were no longer bright, but they were still filled with madness and passion. The moment she landed, she charged forward again. However, her speed was much slower, and her flying posture was a little shaky. Ha. It's time to send you on your way. Boom. Fujioka's pale complexion suddenly became rosy. His weak aura was like a withered tree in spring, suddenly becoming several times stronger. What? Fujioka was actually in disguise. Not good. Admit defeat. Brother Bai Tian, you did your best. Admit defeat, Brother Bai Tian. At this moment, the cultivators of the human race were abnormally alarmed. Their hearts clenched for Chen Shui. At this moment, even the strangers of the human race were unwilling to sacrifice a warrior who fought for the honor of the human race. Everyone could see that Chen Shui had already reached the point where she was like a lamp that had run out of oil, and the aura that the cunning Teng Gang suddenly burst out was not something that Chen Shui could contend against. Therefore, many human cultivators cried out in fear. The endless darkness is your home during the day. Wang. Qi. A beam of sword light pierced through the sky. The terrifying crimson demonic power illuminated the entire broken peak. Just the qi explosion caused by the prelude made Chen Shui's figure withered like a leaf in the wind. The aura of death, at this moment, pervaded the hearts of countless human race cultivators. Go to hell. Roar. Fujioka's final roar and roar with all his strength poured all his essence, energy, spirit, and power into this beam of sword light. Although his body had already started to fall from the void due to exhaustion, his face was brimming with the glory of a victor. His gaze was fixed on by Tian, who was about to be turned into dust by his final blow with all his strength. Wang. What? But halfway down, Fujioka's expression froze. His pupils contracted and his hair stood on end. As if he had seen the most unbelievable thing. His back was ice cold and cold sweat broke out. He wanted to gather energy, but for the final blow, he was already a lamp that had run out of oil. The Sky Fiend clan, the human race, and the other foreign races all let out exclamations containing different meanings almost at the same time. You're a little too early. Poof. Boom. A cold voice suddenly appeared beside Fujioka. An incomparably sharp beam of sword light that contained endless thunder directly pierced through the defenseless Fujioka, turning him into a rain of blood. The dust had settled, and Chen Shui fell directly. In an instant, life and death were reversed. Who would have thought? What a pity, the two's combat power was definitely evenly matched. If Fujioka had not lost his cool and broken the disguise first, the one who would have died would be Bai Tian. Humans, although Bai Tian's strength is average, his shrewdness and temperament are steadier. The elf leader suddenly flashed her extremely beautiful rainbow-colored wings as she spoke softly. Many people nodded. Fujioka thought that Chen Shui no longer had the ability to use the mysteries of space to teleport, which was why he had unreservedly used all his strength to unleash his final killing move. But he did not expect that Chen Shui was also in disguise. Her swaying figure that was staggering as she flew suddenly burst out with her hidden power at the last moment, cutting through the void and closing in on the defenseless Fujioka to unleash her final move. Bai Tian! Bai Tian! Bai Tian! The human race erupted into cheers that resounded through the heavens and the earth. Countless people shouted, Bai Tian, at the top of their lungs. The low-key unknown Bai Tian was destined to be imprinted in the hearts of all the human race cultivators present from this battle onwards. The Heavenly Fiend clan cultivators had ugly expressions. The ups and downs of life were really too fast. If Fujioka could have been a little later, just a little bit, they would not have lost this battle. At least they could have perished together. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. The first round, Bai Tian of the human race wins. Miss Hu, congratulations. You've taken a step forward. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrant smiled as he gazed at Hu Meinyang and announced the results of the first round. He did not shy away from congratulating her. This was more or less a slap to the Heavenly Fiend clan's face, but why would he care? Thank you, I was just lucky. As Hu Meinyang directly turned into a stream of light. After entering the seal, she released a bright energy and entered the collapsed Chen Shui's body. With a concerned expression, she asked, Bai Tian, do you need Meinyang to help you heal? Crash! Hu Meinyang's words caused an uproar among countless cultivators. Their eyes were filled with envy as they looked at Bai Tian. The high and mighty Hu Meinyang was the goddess in the hearts of countless cultivators. When had she ever been so kind to a man? Helping to heal. What a great honor this was. No need. However, to everyone's surprise, Chen Shui was actually neither cold nor warm. She did not even look at Hu Meinyang and said lightly, Then Meinyang will bring you out first. Hu Meinyang smiled slightly. With a wave of her hand, she released a stream of energy that wrapped around Chen Shui. Immediately, she returned to the side of Chen Hao and the others. Chen Shui directly swallowed a pill, sat down cross-legged, and entered a state of recovery and healing. Miss Hu, please have one of your people enter first, Chu Feiyang said straightforwardly. Chapter 809. Hu Meinyang's gaze slowly swept over Chen Hao and the others, her brows furrowed as if she was having a hard time deciding. Miss Hu, let me do it. At this moment, a cultivator in disguise volunteered. No. Hu Meinyang's eyes abruptly flashed with a sharp glint, but it was caught by many sky demon elites and cultivators, even though it was only for an instant. But, say no more. Hu Meinyang waved a hand to stop him, and then turned to another cultivator who had disguised his aura, and was at the back of the 10 humans. You go. Hearing Hu Meinyang's words, The cultivator's expression dimmed slightly, and he seemed to be disappointed. However, he nodded helplessly and flew into the restriction. The ones who volunteered must be the top 3 human elites, and the ones who Meinyang pointed out must be the weaker ones, the sacrificial lambs. That's right. That must be it. Hu Meinyang's eyes clearly showed that she didn't hide anything from those who volunteered. They can't afford to lose, and the elites must wait for our weaker ones to go up before attacking. Pig. You were fooled by such a simple trick? You underestimate Hu Meinyang too much. Fu Yuan, the leader of the Sky Demons, transmitted telepathically, his eyes shining with confidence. Ahem. Brother Fu, could we be wrong? I don't think she's faking it. Humph. Hu Meinyang is extraordinarily intelligent and meticulous. How could she not control her expression at this time, and let you see through her? She's clearly digging a trap for us to jump into. Your so-called sacrificial lambs are the top 3 human elites. Even if he hid it well, he couldn't escape my eyes. Brother Fu is wise. Impressive. We were almost fooled. Hu Meinyang is truly cunning and sinister. Brother Fu, who should we send? We can't have any more surprises. The humans are much stronger than we imagined. 9th G, you go. 9th G, the 3rd-ranked elite of the Sky Demons, was stronger than Fujioka. The Sky Demons had already lost one match, and they had to win this one even if they had to waste a bit of their strength. Otherwise, their morale would fall, and that would directly affect their competitors' performance. Qi. Before Chu Feiyang could open his mouth to urge him, the 3rd expert of the Heavenly Devil clan had already released an incomparably valiant aura and stepped into the seal. 9th G of the Sky Devil race. Tell me your name. Jijio's voice was cold and his expression dignified. Even though he had absolute confidence in his victory, he did not underestimate this human cultivator in front of him. Human nameless. Nameless. That's right. Admitting defeat is a very shameful thing. Do you think I would stupidly announce my name? You're too strong. I admit that I'm no match for you. Great expert Chu, please announce the result. Hiss. After the human cultivator finished speaking, he flew out of the seal. Ha ha ha. Panlong, Chen Hao, and the other human contestants burst into laughter. Even Hu Meinyang revealed a warm smile. At first, the human cultivators were very disdainful when they saw one of their own admit defeat so shamelessly. However, everyone understood what was going on when they saw the expressions of Chen Hao, Hu Meinyang, and the others. They all burst into laughter. It was clear that the Sky Demons had jumped into the pit that Hu Meinyang had dug. The 3rd expert of the Sky Demons, Jijio, had been wasted on the weakest human cultivator. It was truly tragic. At this moment, the face of the Sky Demons leader, Ming Yuan, had turned the color of pig liver. He could not wait to find a hole to hide in. Just a moment ago, he had thought that he was smarter than others and had the pearl of wisdom in his hands. But now it had become his last name. Interesting. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants smiled. The Sky Demons have won the 2nd round. 1 draw. Ming Yuan, it's your turn. You go. Ming Yuan, who had flown into a rage out of humiliation, immediately sent the 6th expert of the Sky Demons. Even though he had won the 1st round, he was so stifled that he wanted to vomit blood. In a situation where the enemy was in the dark and he was in the light, no matter how he arranged, he was restrained everywhere. He could only choose the expert in the middle to fight openly. Which one of you is confident? Hu Meinyang sent a telepathic message to Bailey Ningbing and the other expert of the human race, Gao Lan, the moment the 6th expert of the Sky Demons stepped onto the stage. Gao Lan was the first to volunteer to fight. Before Bailey Ningbing had appeared, he was the true blue 2nd expert of the human race. He was on par with Bailey Ningbing in terms of ability, and was also someone whom both Hu Meinyang and Chen Hao believed must win. I'm 60% confident. Gao Lan replied telepathically. I'm more or less the same. 60% is a little too little. The 2 of you must win 2 rounds for us to have a 100% chance of winning. 100% chance of winning. Gao Lan and Bailey Ningbing were both slightly surprised at Hu Meinyang's words. Then both of them thought of the other 2 complete strangers. Even though they had all changed their appearances, the original 10 had already gotten to know each other. While others might not be able to tell them apart, they could still tell who was who. This time, only 3 of the 10 participants had changed, and one of them, by Tian, had already won a round. Since Hu Meinyang dared to say that the 2 of them could win 2 rounds, and that the human race would have a 100% chance of winning, it meant that there were 2 other people apart from herself who would definitely win 2 rounds. Clearly, they were the remaining 2 strangers. After all, the others definitely didn't have a 100% chance of winning. Alright, you don't have to care about this round. After a brief exchange of telepathic messages, Hu Meinyang's gaze remained unchanged as she sent a telepathic message to Chen Hao, asking, "Which one of you is up?" "Coiling Dragon, you go." Chen Hao replied. Boom. "What the hell? Junior brother, you'd better take it easy. Don't be violent, be gentle." Cough cough. "I can't help it, I can't help it." "Don't worry, senior brother, it's just 50% of my power. It won't be too flashy. I'll do my best to be a little gentler." "Damn it, I'm suffocating." After receiving the news that he was allowed to fight, Coiling Dragon was extremely excited. Although he really wanted to fight with the leader of the Sky Devil race, Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang would definitely not allow it. He had to keep a low profile and hide. It was already very good that he was allowed to fight with the 6th-ranked expert. That was why his stomp could shake the mountains and earth. It was a little too violent and ferocious. That human seems to be pretty ferocious. It seems that the rumors are wrong. The human race's ability is definitely not as bad as the rumors say. Bai Tian is up against him, and he probably won't be any weaker. Coiling Dragon was the first to step up, and he inadvertently made countless cultivators see him in a new light. Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang were rather helpless as well. "I'm Zhao Chen. Tell me your name." "Ha ha ha. You only have the right to know if you can take 500 blows from me. Come on, cut the crap." Chapter 810. Bang. Coiling Dragon had shrunk to 1/3 of his size. Even though he was trying his best to suppress it, it was said that a leopard never changes its spots. He was so arrogant that he almost said 5 moves, and without wasting any words, he took a step forward and charged at Zhao Chen. "You call that gentle?" Chen Hao was truly speechless. If he had known this would happen, he would not have let this fellow fight even if he had to stifle himself to death. But it was too late to say anything now. Fortunately, he had the disguise of the Transfiguration Ring, and no one would recognize him as Coiling Dragon no matter how irascible he was. After all, Coiling Dragon's primordial beast aura could not be concealed without the Transfiguration Ring. Moreover, it was indeed gentle for Coiling Dragon. "Arrogant. You want to sign up for 500 moves just because you cut me down in 100 moves?" Swish. 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 Zhao Chen was enraged by Coiling Dragon's blatant disdain, and he swung his sword to meet the attack. Streaks of sword light instantly filled the air like a gentle drizzle, while Zhao Chen's figure seemed to have turned into a willow in the wind, dancing with the wind. "It's actually the soft way of the sword?" Everyone in the crowd, including Chen Hao, was a little surprised. It was not that the soft way of the sword was strong, but that it did not fit in with someone as irascible as Zhao Chen. Still, it had to be said that it was the best tactic to counter someone as wild as Coiling Dragon. Fortunately, Coiling Dragon's true strength was far more than what he had shown. Otherwise, even Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang would not have been able to predict who would win in this battle of strength and yang against yin and gentleness. Bloody hell, you're acting like a woman. Fight me if you're a man." Coiling Dragon, who was about to suffer internal injuries from holding himself back, yearned for a head-on battle. He would be able to vent even if he was covered in wounds, but Zhao Chen of the Sky Demon was like cotton, rendering Coiling Dragon's ferocious attacks useless. "That's the effect I want." Zhao Chen's voice was ethereal, and her graceful figure was pleasing to the eyes. If it was a beautiful woman who displayed such a sword skill, it would really be a pleasure. Coiling Dragon really wanted to bring out the Ares axe and chop this guy into pieces. However, not to mention the Ares axe, even his strength would be suppressed by half. "Damn it. I don't believe it." Boom. With an explosion, Coiling Dragon, who was attacking wildly, suddenly retreated. Soon after, under the puzzled gazes of the crowd, Coiling Dragon stood in the air and punched the ground. Bang! Rumble! The ferocious golden fist made the entire broken peak tremble violently. The mountains and rivers that stretched for tens of thousands of miles trembled. Is this guy crazy? Isn't this a waste of energy? Many cultivators were stunned when they saw that Pan Long did not attack his opponent, but instead bombarded the ground with violent power. This was completely irrational behavior. After all, the opponent's soft sword was impenetrable, and his defense was able to deflect the force of the attack. It was already exhausting Pan Long's power, but he was still wasting his power. It was really puzzling. But it was only for a split second, but a loud rumbling sound erupted from the broken peak. When huge rocks rose from below the coiling dragon, everyone's eyes widened in shock. No way. Even Chun Hao was speechless. Damn it. Stupid people have stupid methods. To think that Coiling Dragon could come up with such a stupid but absolutely effective method. This was great wisdom disguised as stupidity. Of course, seeing this scene, Chun Hao also knew that Coiling Dragon would rather hold back than continue playing with this guy from the Sky Demon race. I'll smash you to death without a dick. Pew 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 pew. Boulders after boulders danced in the air like locusts, flying toward Zhao Chun from every direction. Coiling Dragon's fighting spirit, and true yuan surged out of his body, imbuing each boulder with extremely violent energy. Borrowing all things in the world, he condensed an 8-sided cage. Meanwhile, Coiling Dragon himself turned into a streak of light, and appeared in the air above Zhao Chun, stomping down. Anyone could see that Coiling Dragon had used up all his strength in this one move. He was going all out. Pester? Wear down his strength? That was a straightforward and frantic blossoming in the shortest time possible. If he could defend, he would die. If he couldn't, he would live. There was no room for negotiation. The Sky Demon race's Zhao Chun did not expect Coiling Dragon to be so ferocious. He was definitely fighting with no regard for his own life, completely disregarding life and death. Against such a lunatic, there was no hope even if he wanted to continue fighting. All he could do was fight with his life on the line. Pew pew pew. The soft sword Dao suddenly disappeared. Zhao Chun madly urged his sword, unleashing 10,000 swords in an instant, each of them containing his most powerful strength. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave wins. In this life and death situation, he could not hold anything back. Rumble. A series of terrifying explosions resounded through the world. Stone fragments swirled and filled the air above Broken Peak, completely engulfing the two figures. Everything within tens of thousands of miles was silent. Everyone stared blankly at the scene, inhaling sharply. Against such a person who was willing to fight with his life on the line, all battle techniques and tactics were useless. Only the release of one's true strength was the absolute truth. It was even more vicious than the 7 wounds fist. Damn, what a talent. Chun Hao's lips curled into a smile. It had to be said that Coiling Dragon had done well. He had let everyone know that he was a true brave man who was neither weak nor strong, without revealing his greater strength. Brother Pan is mighty, so strong. Brute. In the distance, Lan Feng and Chun Ling exclaimed inwardly. They were not at all worried that Coiling Dragon would lose. His opponent was merely the 6th-ranked elite of the Sky Demons, and if Coiling Dragon unleashed his true strength, he would not even be fit to carry his shoes. How could anything happen to him? On the other hand, countless human and Sky Demon cultivators were staring nervously at Broken Peak, where stone fragments and dust filled the air, waiting for the result. As the dust settled, 2 bloody figures appeared before everyone's eyes. Coiling Dragon stood proudly, but he was trembling. One of his arms was gone, and a chunk of his head seemed to have fallen off. His body was riddled with sword holes, with blood gushing out. Miserable. Absolutely miserable. But compared to his opponent, Zhao Chun of the Sky Demons was even more miserable. That was because he could not be more dead. His entire head had been reduced to minced meat, and Coiling Dragon's foot happened to be right where his head should have been. It was obvious that his head had been crushed. Junior brother is really nice to himself. Do you have to be so cruel? Chun Hao was a little stunned, and hurriedly sent a telepathic message to Hu Mainyang. Quick, save him. He won't die even if he pretends. What's the rush? Fuck, you're still pretending? Despite her words, Hu Meinyang flew directly to Broken Peak, saying at the same time, Brother Chu, isn't the result clear? Our man is badly injured and can't heal himself. Meinyang, save him first. Alright. The third round, the humans win. Now 2-1, the humans lead. Chapter 8:11. Hee senior brother, I'm miserable, right? Can you be as miserable as me? Miserable. I'm ashamed of my inferiority. No way. Senior brother, you're admitting defeat just like that? Nonsense, I'm perfectly fine here. Chun Hao, who was communicating telepathically with the returning coiled dragon, casually scratched his head, but the coiled dragon egg shattered into pieces. Congratulations, Miss Hu. Why, you humans are very different from the rumors. It's your turn to fight in the 4th round. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants said casually with a smile. The humans were indeed much stronger than the rumors said, but they were still nothing in front of the mini elites of the Tyrants. Although he was surprised, he did not take it to heart. You flatter me, Brother Chu. It was just a fluke. You go, Hu Meinyang said directly as she looked at the human cultivator who had volunteered. Alright. The human cultivator immediately responded excitedly and flew directly to the arena. Seeing him enter the arena, the leader of the Sky Fiend clan, Ma Yuan, flushed red. Was he an elite among the 10 humans, or the weakest? He was completely terrified by Hu Meinyang's cunning and unpredictable mind. What do you all think? Ma Yuan looked at the others and asked telepathically. Brother Ma, Hu Meinyang is too cunning. It's hard to tell if she's real or fake. Yes, she must have dug a hole for us just now. It's hard to tell if this person is an elite or a weakling. However, according to the news we received, Bailey Ningbing, who has an affair with Chun Hao, is very strong. That young girl must be her. There's also someone called Gao Lan who's very strong. Including Hu Meinyang, there are 3 of them. This person might be Gao Lan, or he might not be. Damn it, I'm asking who's going. What's the point of saying all this? Do you think I don't know? You should decide. The cultivator who spoke stopped talking at once, but secretly cursed Ma Yuan for being an idiot. If he had not thought himself smart, he would not have wasted 9th G on the weakest human disciple. I'll go. It's safer. We won't lose much even if we lose. We must win this round. At that moment, the 5th-ranked elite of the Sky Fiend clan spoke up. Alright. Feng Yuan nodded. Up until now, the top 5 experts were only him, 2nd place and 5th place. 5th place was indeed the safest. As for him and Hu Meinyang, the 2 number 1 experts, they would not act rashly. After all, as long as he did not face Hu Meinyang, it did not matter who his opponent was. He had absolute confidence that he could defeat his opponent and win. As for Hu Meinyang, she was even more inferior. If Feng Yuan dared to take the lead, she would not hesitate to attack. Of course, Hu Meinyang knew that Ji Yuan would definitely avoid her. The Sky Demons had won that battle by a considerable margin, but they were unable to kill the human cultivators. Seeing that there was no hope, the human cultivators simply chose to surrender. This person and the human clan cultivator were the 2 weakest among the 10 human clan cultivators. In fact, if one wanted to kill someone, even if it was the strongest against the weakest, it would still be very difficult. Those who could be killed were basically of equal strength. Everyone felt that they could win, which was why there would be deaths. Otherwise, as long as the opponent could not destroy the other in a single move, they would have the chance to surrender. Especially since the Sky Demons had already revealed their true aura, which made it even harder for them to kill the human cultivators. For matches 2 to draw. In the 5th match, the Sky Demons sent their 7th-ranked expert. Bailey Ningbing took the stage right away, using her formidable immortal sword will and combat talents to win the 3rd match for the human clan. By now, the human race's Hu Meinyang was destined to win this round. There was also Gao Lan, whose reputation was hidden among the last 4. She would definitely be able to capture one of the 8th, 9th, or 10th Heaven Devil race and obtain another victory. That would mean 5 victories. However, the human clan would have no advantage if there was an additional match. Furthermore, In order for the Sky Devil race to win 4 out of the remaining 5 matches, they would need the second-ranked expert to go up against Gao Lan. That was simply impossible as their situation was like a lice on a monk's head. It was obvious that Gao Lan would be able to grab one of the last 2 in order of appearance. As for whether the last 2 Sky Demons could win against the other human cultivator, it was not so certain either. At this point, the Sky Demons were all stifled with gloom. If they had known that this would happen, they would have attacked powerfully from the start, and perhaps have a better chance of winning 6 matches. Now, however, no matter how unwilling they were, they had to fight for 6 victories on the basis of keeping 5. In the 6th match, the Sky Demons had no idea what was going on, but to keep 5, their second-ranked expert stepped out and won. 3-3 draw. In the 7th match, the Sky Demons sent their 8th Sky Demon up, but Gao Lan of the Human Clan seized the chance, and let the Human Clan take the lead again, making it 4-3. In the 8th match, the Human Clan sent their 7th Sky Demon expert. The Sky Demon's leader stepped out without hesitation, forcing the Human Clan cultivator to surrender at once, or they would be insta-killed once the battle began. 4-4 draw. It was a stalemate. The humans were left with Hu Meinyang and Chen Hao, while the Sky Demons were left with the 2 rookies, ranked 9th and 10th. Hu Meinyang was using a butcher's knife to kill chickens, but there was no other way. The key is to see how strong the Human Clan is. If they win, the Human Clan would advance straight away, but if they lose, they would have to fight another person, and the Human Clan would be in danger. It's hard to say. It's rumored that the Human Clan is so weak, but Bai Tian and that fierce man who appeared today are quite strong. Who knows if the last one would be fierce as well? The Sky Demon's leader is really a pig. If not for his lousy tactical arrangements, victory would have been secured, and there's no telling if they could keep the tie now. Cultivators from various galaxies were buzzing with discussion at the moment, their gazes fixed on the 2 remaining Sky Fiend race members and Chen Hao. You go. If Hu Meinyang goes, you can just surrender, but if the last one goes, you have to win with me even if you have to risk your life. I will give you first credit for the Imperial Chalcedony share. Ming Yuan, the Sky Demon's leader, said somberly. It would be fine if they could win this time. But if they lost, it would be the end of his reign as leader. Even if no one challenged his combat ability, he would be too ashamed to continue, losing all credibility and face. Yeah. Hiss. The Sky Demon's 9th Sky Demon expert grunted in response and promptly ascended Broken Peak. The Dao laws around Hu Meinyang's body surged slightly as she appeared on Broken Peak, but everyone knew what would happen next. That cultivator turned and jumped off Broken Peak. The Sky Demon's weakest was left for Chen Hao. Even Chen Hao had not expected such a result. Was Hu Meinyang too shrewd? Or was the Sky Demon race too stupid? It went without saying. In short, they had steadily and unexpectedly forced the other party to be the last to appear. Chapter 8:12. At that moment, Hu Meinyang's eyes twinkled as she stared at Chen Hao with a solemn expression, saying, "Human victory depends on you." Her acting skills were definitely at the level of a movie queen. "Miss Hu, I'll do my best. I'll fight for the glory of the human race, even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a pot of boiling oil." Chen Hao's already ferocious face now shone with a red glow that could have been excitement or flattery. His fighting spirit soared as his body trembled, and before he even stepped onto the stage, he was already burning up because of Hu Meinyang's words. Not bad. The Sky Demons are going to have a headache this time. Look at that aura, he's going to go all out. The human race has a good chance of advancing. Hu Meinyang is truly a queen among women. One word, one look, and she's able to get people to risk their lives for her. She's also full of wisdom and tricks, and it's impossible to guard against her. She'll definitely become the new king of supremes of the human race. Disgusting. No one knew that even as Hu Meinyang stared at Chen Hao solemnly and concernedly, she was mercilessly sending a telepathic message. I can't compare to you, Meinyang. While transmitting his voice, Chen Hao turned into a streak of light and took the lead to ascend Broken Peak. He dragged out the 2 words, Meinyang, completely exaggerating the way Hu Meinyang addressed herself. Song Long, it's all up to you. If you win, will give you 10% of the imperial chalcedony that the sky demons get. I'll win. Songlong. 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 The cultivators of the sky demons were madly chanting Songlong's name at that moment. He was only the 10th ranked elite of the sky demons, but at that moment he carried all the hopes of the sky demons, and became the center of attention. Songlong's blood boiled as he listened to the mountainous and oceanic cheers. Songlong must win. No matter the cost, as long as I win, I'll be the hero who turns the universe around, the pride of the sky demons. My prestige and fortune will definitely rise by leaps and bounds. Songlong tightly gripped the sword in his hand. With a rumbling sound, he rushed towards Broken Peak while shouting crazily. At first, the human cultivators looked at each other in bewilderment. They didn't even know Chunhao's name. How could they cheer for him? However, in order not to appear weak, someone took the initiative to shout the word human, which then spread to the entire human race. A person who was ranked 10th in the Sky Devil race, a person whose name was not even exposed to the human race, had actually become the focus of attention, and the most important battle between the Sky Devil race and the human race. This was truly unexpected. At this final juncture, neither of them spoke any nonsense and directly attacked. Driven by his determination to win, Songlong unleashed combat strength that exceeded his limits. Chunhao, whose aura was not weak, was similarly frenzied and fought with his life on the line. The duo alternately encountered fatal threats time and time again, causing every sky demon and human cultivator to break out in cold sweat for their own people. It could be said to be extremely hair-raising, and even Hu Mainyang and the others who knew the situation were no exception. After all, Chunhao was definitely not faking it. Instead, he had truly suppressed his power to the same level as his opponent, and had completely abandoned all powerful ultimate techniques to contend with his opponent with relatively ordinary combat techniques. Selflessness, new self. Watching Chunhao's battle, Hu Mainyang thought of a realm that was inevitable in enlightenment. Selflessness did not mean forgetting oneself, but temporarily forgetting all the divine abilities, ultimate techniques, and powers that one wanted to get rid of. New self, on the other hand, was to turn the desired self into one and only for the time being. Unless he left the state of selflessness, that was Chunhao's current ability. Each is crazier than the last. Still, that's probably the only way he could suppress his essence, qi and spirit. Hu Mainyang muttered to herself. She was well aware that Chunhao had already reached the pinnacle of earthly immortal medium stage, and if he was not careful, his essence, qi and spirit could trigger divine punishment. For Chunhao, who wanted to hide his strength, it was indeed very dangerous. They're evenly matched, and it's hard to tell who's stronger. It's really hard to tell who's going to win. Many elites thought to themselves, senior brother is still the best. If I could enter the state of selflessness, I would definitely be able to fight to my heart's content, damn it. Coiling Dragon, who was well aware of Chunhao's situation, could naturally guess what was going on with Chunhao's state, and his heart was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. The evenly matched and soul-stirring duel lasted for a full hour before reaching a dull conclusion. The reason why it was dull was because it was in the middle of a soul-stirring climax. Songlong was dead, and Chunhao had won. The human race has advanced. The words "the human race has advanced" from Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants resounded like thunder in the mind of Ming Yuan, the leader of the Sky Fiend clan. His face was frighteningly pale, and his teeth were clenched, but he could only swallow them into his stomach. Amidst a sea of cheers, Hu Mainyang brought the heavily injured and almost exhausted Chunhao back. What made people envious and jealous, but what they took for granted, was that Hu Mainyang actually personally healed Chunhao, and her slender jade-like hand went straight to Chunhao's back. There's something going on. Damn it, I'm much more seriously injured than senior brother, but I didn't receive such treatment. This woman's treatment of senior brother, and senior brother's treatment of this woman, is both abnormal. She's just SOSO for senior brother. Coiling Dragon muttered to himself. Chun Shui, on the other hand, glanced sideways and raised her chin. Damn it, I said no. Don't forget, you're mine now. I like the state of selflessness very much. No one knew that the healing was just on the surface. Hu Meinyang wanted to take the opportunity to feel Chen Hao's state. And Chen Hao could not stop her. During this period, the two had already agreed to share their insights. It's our turn. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants smiled slightly, and his faint voice suddenly traveled into everyone's ears. Dark Demon Clan, do you admit defeat, or do you want to fight? If you want to fight, there's no need to waste time on the arrangements. Our tyrants will start from the 10th place, and the battle should end when we reach the 5th place. Whoosh! Chu Feiyang's words directly caused an uproar among the cultivators of all races. Crazy. He clearly told them the order of appearance, and said that the battle would end when they reached the 5th place. That meant that no matter how the Dark Demon Clan arranged, they only needed the weakest 6 people to win 6 rounds. You're going too far. It's true that your tyrants are strong, but my Dark Demon Clan can't win 1 round? Humph. I'd like to see how your 10th place can beat me. Boom. The leader of the Dark Demon Clan angrily rushed toward Broken Peak. Seeing this scene, Chu Feiyang's mouth curved slightly, revealing a look of looking at an idiot. He casually pointed at a cultivator of the tyrants and said, "Brother, way you go." What? Everyone's expression froze. Isn't this too sinister? Everyone's gaze towards Chu Feiyang changed. Chapter 8:13. Although the tyrants had also concealed their aura and changed their appearance, and the news that was spread back then was definitely not completely true, the difference wouldn't be too big. Among the top 10 experts, the only one with the surname Wei was Wei Liang, who was ranked 4th. Wei Liang had a glorious battle record and was extremely famous in the Primal Secret Realm. Many cultivators knew about his terrifying battles. The arrogant Chu Feiyang clearly said that he would start from the 10th place, but after provoking the somewhat brainless leader of the Dark Demon race, he did not hesitate to send out the 4th master. It was really a little too sinister and cunning. Chu Feiyang, you are the leader of the tyrants. What do you mean by this? The leader of the Dark Demon race almost vomited blood. All is fair in war. When 2 armies fight, do you think I, Chu Feiyang, still have to reason with you? Ridiculous. Chu Feiyang said disdainfully. Fine. Wei Liang, so what if you are the 4th master? Come on. Let me see how strong the tyrants are. Boom. The leader of the Dark Demon race was furious and directly flipped out. Unfortunately, the leader of the Dark Demon race, who was the weakest and relatively average in strength, lost to the powerful Wei Liang even after giving it his all. The following battles were also without any suspense. Although Chu Feiyang did not fight according to the order he said, he did indeed finish 6 battles, and eliminated the Dark Demon race from the competition. Then it was the insect race against the goblin race. In these 2 battles, the insect race showed no less than the tyrants, and even more terrifying and bloody. All kinds of insect races' magical powers really made one's scalp tingle. They won 6 o'clock. Then, the divine race against the phantom race fully demonstrated the absolute power and fierceness of the divine race. They also won 6 o'clock. The strength displayed by the 3 strongest galaxies shocked the practitioners from the other galaxies. Even Chen Hao, Hu Meinyang, Coiling Dragon, and the others felt immense pressure. It would not be easy to obtain the final victory and obtain the 1st place. In fact, it would be impossible to accomplish. The tyrants, the insect race, the divine race, the 2 or 3 strongest people in each race did not even fight. They are too strong. Yes, I'm afraid our human race will stop at the 5th place. No matter which of the winged race or the elf race wins, we can only fight one of the 2 at most, but the chances of winning are almost 0. There's no other way. The advantage of the human race lies in the higher realms. For the human race to have such results in the heavenly immortal realm is already considered very good. It's a pity that Slaughter God Chen Hao and the other proud heaven members didn't come. If they did, we'd definitely be in 4th place. Maybe we'd even have a shot at the top 3. Don't mention them. This is an important matter that concerns the glory of the human race, yet they are cowards. They dropped the ball at a critical moment. This is too disappointing. Fortunately, we have Hu Meinyang to back them up. Even now, the human cultivators were still talking about Slaughter God Chen Hao and the other members of Proud Heaven. Many of them were criticizing them. Although they did not even have the right to participate, they had the right to criticize. After all, as a member of the human race, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. This was a major event related to the glory of the human race. It was absolutely inexcusable that God of Slaughter Chun Hao and the others did not appear. In the end, it would definitely be a very intense battle. The elf race and the winged race finally began. Both sides were birdmen with wings. The elves' wings were colorful and translucent. Both men and women had pointed ears and were handsome. Their robes were decorated with extremely luxurious and beautiful decorations. There was not a speck of dust on them. Every one of them looked noble and elegant. On the other hand, the winged race had dark black wings. They had sharp hooked noses and looked ferocious, like half-beastmen. The battle between the two races allowed the cultivators to see the astonishing speed changes and the elf race's terrifying use of the power of nature. In the end, the elf race won with a score of 6-4, which was the same as the human race. After all the elimination rounds were over, Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants, Morichis of the insect race, Nye Fan of the god race, Hu Meinyang of the human race, and the leader of the elf race, Shi Yage, discussed the rules and procedures of the top 5 ranking competition. After reaching an agreement, they temporarily stopped and led their respective armies back to their encampments. All of you, come to Meinyang's temporary palace. When they returned to the human race's encampment, Chun Hao, the Proud Heavens members, Bailey Ningbing, and the other 9 people who were previously determined were summoned by Hu Meinyang to the temporary palace that she condensed with her divine power. Meinyang will first explain the process and rules of the competition to you. The time is set to officially start 3 days later. There will only be 2 battles per day. One galaxy will have a bye. For the time being, the first battle on the first day will be between us and the elf race. The second battle will be between the Tyrants and the Protoss. The insect race will have a bye. This is based on our previous ranking in the speed competition. The elf race has made it clear that they will only fight one battle with us. What about us? Hearing Hu Meinyang's words, everyone was not surprised by the elf race's decision and asked. Other than Chun Hao and the others generally thought that Hu Meinyang's decision was the same as the leader of the elf race. After all, the Tyrants, the insect race, and the Protoss were too strong. In their opinion, the human race could not compete with them at all. Moreover, it was said before that the human race was basically a battle. If they entered the top 5, they just had to admit that they were in the top 5. If they were eliminated, they naturally could not fight again. However, today the human race's performance was not much weaker than the elf race's. Perhaps they still had a glimmer of hope to win the 4th place. Meinyang wants to communicate with their experts. Naturally, it will not be the same as the elf race. Hu Meinyang smiled slightly, and a fierce fighting spirit bloomed in her eyes. Even if we can't enter the top 3, Meinyang wants to let them know that the strongest combat power of the human race is stronger than them. Good. Miss Hu should do that. Yes, with Miss Hu's cultivation, you can definitely compete with Chu Feiyang, Morris, and Nye Fan. Although the human race will lose, as long as Miss Hu can win one battle, it will also raise the prestige of the human race. Yes, so Meinyang now needs to confirm who will fight. Meinyang thinks that those who win today's competition have the ability to fight. At least, if you don't meet the top few, you still have the ability to admit defeat. This is much better than admitting defeat directly. After all, this is for the glory of the human race. If everyone except Meinyang admits defeat directly, it will be a little embarrassing. What do you think? That's how it should be. That's good. We already have 6 people now, and we need 4 more. They must be the strongest among you who are good at speed. Let's try to take down the elf race first. Me. I'm a little fast. A girl's voice stood up and said first. Her appearance and figure were ordinary, but the aura that suddenly bloomed was indeed very strong. And the moment she spoke, her whole person flashed like a ghost in the spacious hall, showing a very strong ability to control her speed. Chapter 8:14. I should be able to do it too. Another girl's voice sounded. Count me in. I want to go too. Chi. Suddenly, another 3 people released their own auras, causing the other cultivators present to widen their eyes in shock. These 4 people had obviously signed up later, but they had kept their identities a secret until now. How could they be so strong? What surprised them even more was that other than a man, there were 3 women. One had to know that in the cultivation world, no matter which galaxy it was, the ratio of experts had always been male and female, and the gap was very big. But now, 3 young girls with powerful auras had suddenly appeared. Very good. Hu Meinyang smiled slightly and said, "You should all be disciples of the hidden sex of our human race, right? Don't worry, if you don't want to say more, Meinyang won't ask more. The battle with the elf race in 3 days has been decided for the time being. Does anyone have any objections? The 3 young ladies and this brother are very strong. We admit that we are inferior, so of course we have no objections. Yes, this is really unexpected. Fourth, our hopes are greater." The others said one after another. Good. Everyone, please don't spread it out for the time being. Wait for us to amaze the world and take 4th place. Don't worry, Miss Hu. Aren't you doing something unnecessary? After the crowd dispersed, a breeze blew past Hu Meinyang's palace again. Chen Hao's figure appeared and stared at Hu Meinyang. As the leader of the human race, do you think it's justifiable if you don't gather them at this time? It's understandable if you don't tell others. Those who dare to come out are all people who are willing to sacrifice for the human race. It's only right to reveal a little to them. Taking care of everything and winning people's hearts. I'm really convinced. I'm the saintess of the Misty Rain House. This is my duty. How strong are the 4 of them? Since I've asked them to come out, it's naturally foolproof. We can win 6 matches even if we randomly arrange the generals of the Ministry of War. If nothing unexpected happens, we'll deliberately lose 2 rounds, Chen Hao said. The 4 people were the sisters Xia Yuyu and Du Jing. Including Chen Hao, Pan Long, and Chen Shui, Ao Tian had sent out 7 people. With the addition of Hu Meinyang, there was no doubt that they would win the competition. Logically speaking, there was no need for Proud Heaven to mobilize so many people against the elves who were much weaker than the 3 most powerful planetary systems. However, today's battle against the sky demons made Hu Meinyang and Chen Hao realize that the perfect number of people was not good for hiding their strength. If there were a few more people, it would be much easier to arrange. Regardless of whether they went up first or later, the weaker side would win. After the victory was secured, they could even admit defeat when facing the stronger side. That would be much easier. As for Helian Wuxi, Tan Tai Lian and Chun Ling, these 3 characteristics were very obvious. Naturally, they would only appear when the 3 galaxies clashed. Are you really planning to activate your heavenly punishment after this duel? I need to fight, so I naturally have to wait until the battle is over. Or in battle. Why? Do you have any ideas? Of course I have my own ideas. With your current realm and combat strength, it is not a problem for you to win a battle. But if you want to fight against Chu Feiyang, Morichis, Nia Fan, and Lu Qianye, and other powerful people, you will not be able to suppress your aura. Unless you release all your aura, but that will trigger the heavenly punishment. When that time comes, how can I comprehend it beside you? That's not because of me. For the glory of the human race, I can't sacrifice myself to help you, can I? Don't forget that the runes of my physical body will only evolve under the heavenly punishment. Don't you want to comprehend something stronger? Don't you just need to fight? I'll satisfy you, and I guarantee that I'll trample you to death. Fuck. 3 days. Use your miniature aircraft, leave this place, and go through the heavenly punishment quietly. That's enough. Hu Meinyang glared at Chen Hao and said aggressively. Damn it, you know quite a lot. Alright then, come with me. I'd like to see who will trample who. Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang immediately disappeared from the palace. At the elven encampment, while Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang were quietly leaving the human race's encampment, the elf race's leader, Siege, and more than 30 elf race experts were still fiercely discussing the human race's situation. From Bai Tian to Chen Hao, they were discussing the strengths, weaknesses, and how to fight against any human race member that appeared today. The reason why the humans were able to defeat the Sky Devil race was not only due to Hu Meinyang's strategic arrangements, which allowed the top experts of the Sky Devil race to be wasted on the weakest cultivators of the human race. The humans were indeed much stronger than the rumors said. Otherwise, they would not have been able to obtain the final victory. That left the elves with no choice but to take it seriously. This was their final showdown, and they would be fourth if they won, fifth if they lost. They had already given up on the chance to fight the three most powerful galaxies. Although the human race did not directly say that they had given up, Hu Meinyang had made it clear that she wanted to fight the elites of the three races. In their view, the human race had no hope of competing against the three most powerful galaxies. Therefore, they had no qualms about sending their strongest forces to fight with all they had. Baition's strength isn't bad, but he's not strong. However, he's calm, determined, and has rich battle experience. Most importantly, he can combine the space and lightning mysteries, which poses a great threat to our elf clan's innate speed. We must have an absolute advantage in speed and power if we want to beat him, or it would be a tough fight and a battle of attrition. You'll be the one to deal with him. Are you confident? Brother Siege, it's not a problem as long as it's arranged for me to fight him. I'm confident that I can suppress him in every aspect, be it in speed, attack, or defense. Even if it's a battle of attrition, I'll win in the end. Can, the fifth-ranked elite of the elves, said confidently. He had clearly seen Baition's fight against the Sky Demon elites, and the power he had displayed was Baition's strongest. He was completely confident that he could win. We can only do our best. I've already locked onto the origin aura of anyone they've exposed, and I believe they won't hide anything. As long as he steps out first, you'll naturally be the one to fight him. It all depends on the arrangements made on the spot, and we can only do our best when the time comes. If there's no other way, we'll arrange for you to fight him first and what kind of opponent you meet. That'll depend on luck. There's no way to play tactics or combat skills against that ferocious fellow. We can only suppress him with absolute power and defeat him in a head-on clash. Should I do it? The second-ranked elite of the elves volunteered. Chapter 8:15. Bailey Ningbing, I'll do it. Gaolon, count me in. Leave the last guy to me. The third, fourth, and sixth elites of the elf race said one after another. All right. I'll adjust when the time comes. After all, it's not up to us to decide who's going up against whom. We can only do this for now. Everyone has analyzed the situation very thoroughly. No matter what the humans do, our chances of winning are higher than theirs. The only thing I'm worried about is that the humans have hidden elites who haven't appeared yet. So everyone, use these 3 days to adjust yourselves to peak condition. We must win. Yes. The elf race was a race that loved nature. Under normal circumstances, they stood aloof from worldly affairs. Among the top 10 galaxies, they were the only one that had the least conflicts with the other major races. However, when it came to a battle that involved the honor of the elf race, the proud elves would never back down. The same thing was happening in the Tyrants and Protoss bases. They decided on the lineup list, analyzed the situation of the opposing cultivators, and tentatively decided on who to choose as their opponent. Even the Zergs, who had a bye on the first day, were not idle. The top 5 ranking competition was a round-robin competition. No matter what, any 2 galaxies would have to fight each other. It was just a matter of order. Compared to true strength, all tactical arrangements were secondary. Going up early was nothing more than exposing a little of their strength. As long as they were strong enough. So what if they were exposed completely? So, although the Zergs had a bye, they still had to treat it seriously. Relatively speaking, the humans were the most casual. Hu Meinyang only said a few words, and after confirming the candidates, they went their separate ways. It was not that Hu Meinyang did not take it seriously, but the situation of the Proud Heavens members was special. She seemed to be the leader, but among the participants, other than Gao Lan and Bailey Ningbing, who would treat her as the leader. This was one of the reasons. Secondly, Hu Meinyang trusted Chen Hao and the Proud Heavens members. She believed that Chen Hao knew what to do, and she did not have to interfere. She knew very well that the hatred of the Proud Heavens members for her could not be eliminated in a short time. In the void, a stream of light that completely concealed its aura, so that even heavenly immortal elites could not detect it, shuttled back and forth at a terrifying speed. Your aircraft has developed intelligence? Although Hu Meinyang was certain that Chen Hao and the other members of Proud Heaven all had their own miniature aircraft, she was still shocked when she actually stepped into Chen Hao's aircraft. Small Wisdom Number One's voice was full of emotions. If it wasn't an artifact spirit with intelligence, then what was it? It wouldn't be strange if it was a powerful legacy artifact, but this was an aircraft. Under normal circumstances, there were very few artifact spirits in aircraft, let alone artifact spirits with sentience. They were all controlled by humans. However, Chen Hao's aircraft completely followed Chen Hao's orders. It automatically analyzed and operated. What Chen Hao needed to do was to provide sufficient energy. Rouge Horse, my name is Xiaoji. Chen Hao did not pay attention to Hu Meinyang, but Little Wisdom Number One imitated a realistic light and shadow energy body. It raised its small face and stared at Hu Meinyang, who was half a body taller than it. What did you call me? Hu Meinyang's eyes widened as she stared at the image that suddenly appeared. She was angry and shocked. Angry was, of course, what Xiaoji called her. Needless to say, Chen Hao was deliberately teasing her. What surprised her was that the energy and the way this little brat was formed was completely beyond her understanding. It was not formed by the energy of spiritual sense, but it did have intelligence. This was a little too strange. Crash Rouge Horse Hu Meinyang. Beep, beep, beep. In an instant, a curtain of light enveloped the entire aircraft, with Hu Meinyang at the center. If not for the fact that Hu Meinyang did not feel any danger, she would have attacked directly. But immediately, the voice of Xiaoji Number One, as well as the image characters, data, and other complicated deduction symbols that appeared out of thin air in front of her eyes, made Hu Meinyang's attractive cherry lips form an O shape. Chen Hao, you bastard. What are you doing? Do you think I won't destroy it? Haha, you also have moments of fear? Damn, you're really strong. Don't be afraid, I can't eat you. I'm just analyzing your data. Boom. Stop immediately, or I'll attack directly. Although Hu Meinyang did not understand what Chen Hao was doing to her with this strange aircraft that was completely beyond her understanding, she knew that it was not something good. Therefore, she violently summoned her energy, and the Tao laws around her surged as she warned him. Master, Rouge Horse is really unruly. Its energy is beyond what Xiaoji can bear. Please give me instructions. Take it, this is a crazy woman. We can't lower ourselves to her level. Yes. Hu Meinyang took a deep breath, then another, and another. Only then did she calm down the impulse to immediately ravage Chen Hao. But her face was still flushed with anger, and her chest heaved. No matter when, she had always been firmly on top of Chen Hao, but for the first time, she completely lost control. It was not that Chen Hao was stronger than her, but that the miniature aircraft had shocked her so much that she had lost her composure. This also gave her a deeper understanding of Chen Hao. She even suspected that when she had forced Chen Hao to be captured and dual cultivated with him for decades, Chen Hao had done it on purpose. Although she did not want to admit it, this feeling made her feel a little frustrated. However, she did not know that Chen Hao did not have his aircraft with him at that time, and that bastard old god had deliberately dropped the ball. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Hu Meinyang like this, Chen Hao was in a good mood. You'll cry. Emph. Wait and see how I deal with you later. Hu Meinyang said angrily. I'll wait and see. Emph. Tell me, who the hell are you? This aircraft has never appeared in the 10 major galaxies, let alone the vast universe galaxy. Almost every member of Proud Heaven has one, right? Don't tell me you're just a native of a barren planet like the Boundless Planet. Why should I tell you? You don't have to tell me. I don't mind telling the world what I saw today, and let the knowledgeable people analyze it. After stepping out of the primitive secret realm, perhaps the leaders of the major galaxies will be very curious? Hu Meinyang stared fiercely at Chen Hao, puffed out her chest, and said in a threatening manner. Fuck. Chen Hao's smug expression suddenly turned red. Damn it, will a woman like you die if you don't be vicious? If Hu Meinyang really told the world this news, Even if Chen Hao was the supreme of Hongmeng, he would still become the prey in the eyes of countless powerful people. Is this your first day knowing me? I've always been like this. Hu Meinyang did not care at all. Don't think that I'm just trying to scare you. Our friendship has not reached that stage yet. Chapter 8:16. Chen Hao, who was about to say something, almost vomited blood when he heard Hu Meinyang's last sentence. Regardless of whether it was true or not, Hu Meinyang's words hit the nail on the head and hit Chen Hao right where it hurt. From Chen Hao's point of view, although the two of them had known each other from the very beginning, and had been fighting each other to the point where they were now using each other to their advantage, they still knew each other well. Otherwise, Chen Hao would not have brought Hu Meinyang into his aircraft. Even if he did, he would not have exposed the ability of Xiaoji No. 1. But he did not expect that the curious Hu Meinyang would threaten him with this. If I had known, I would not have brought you in. Next time, remember not to trust me so much. I can't bear it. Speak. Hu Meinyang raised her chin. Meinyang. Unable to restrain his anger, Chen Hao stared at Hu Meinyang for a full 2 minutes before he suddenly shook his head. His expression changed, and he said in a very gentle voice, "Actually, ever since Hu Meinyang frowned slightly, but then the corners of her mouth curled up. She interrupted Chen Hao and said, "You know how to disgust people? Chen Hao, the god of killing. You don't live up to your name. Should I say that since the first time I saw you, you fell in love with me and couldn't help yourself? Wait a minute, Yunyan. I'm sorry, your tricks might work on a naive, retarded little girl, but they don't work on me." Hu Meinyang's expression and words were normal. But after she finished speaking, she suddenly thought of something and her heart skipped a beat. He obviously had this crazy aircraft, but he deliberately didn't run away. Could it be? Even if it's true, I can't admit defeat. Besides, he's obviously teasing me now. Damn it. Chen Hao cursed under his breath. His expression returned to normal and he said, "If you want to know, you can be my soul slave or my woman. Which one do you choose? I welcome the first one very much, but the second one, I'll reluctantly accept." "Bah. Why should I agree to your conditions? Then do as you wish. You want to know? No way. So what if I announce it to the world? Do you really think I'm afraid?" You've already told me. Don't worry, I'll keep your secret. Are you crazy? You are the one who is sick. I was just trying to trick you, but your reaction was so intense. Obviously, you are not a native of planet Wuji but from another space civilization. Am I right? Hu Meinyang's expression changed faster than flipping the pages of a book. At this moment, she was smiling sweetly as she looked at Chen Hao proudly. Chen Hao was speechless. 200 years had passed, but Chen Hao was still being played by Hu Meinyang. It was not that Chen Hao was weak in this aspect, but compared to Hu Meinyang, this woman's control of his character was a whole street behind. Otherwise, she would not have been able to grasp the rhythm of his pulse time and time again. She did not let Chen Hao's dislike of her exceed the limit, nor let Chen Hao despise her existence. 4 hours later, the distance between the aircraft and the Emperor Chalcedony area had reached a barren area that peak heavenly immortal experts could not reach in 2 days. Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang stepped out of the aircraft. "Are you ready? I won't show you any mercy." Thousands of feet away, Dao laws surged around Hu Meinyang's body. It was as if a banished immortal had descended. Her graceful and exquisite body was suffused with rays of 7-colored light. Her long skirt and beautiful hair fluttered in the wind. "Bring it on." Boom. Chi. Chen Hao also released an extremely powerful aura. His black hair danced wildly, and a surging power surged out like a mountain and a sea. At this moment, his essence, chi, and spirit were completely raised to the limit of not triggering the heavenly punishment, which was the limit of what he could use. If he used a little more, the heavenly punishment would be triggered. The fierce and wild physical body and the pure, condensed, and majestic aura of slaughter were like the arrival of the god of death. The power of a mid-stage heavenly immortal is already so strong. Hu Meinyang's eyes narrowed slightly. If you had advanced to the late-stage heavenly immortal realm, you might be able to contend with me at the peak of the late-stage heavenly immortal realm. But now, you're still not strong enough. Come on, let me see how strong you are. Qi. As Hu Meinyang spoke, her slender jade-like hands suddenly flashed with a series of afterimages. At an extremely terrifying speed, they condensed into a series of superimposed runes that cut through the void and enveloped Chen Hao. At this moment, endless Tao laws surged between heaven and earth, instantly sucking the energy of heaven and earth within a radius of tens of thousands of miles and fusing it into her hand seal. A terrifying air explosion and heaven and earth shook violently and violently spread out. It made Chen Hao feel as if he had fallen into a bottomless quagmire. His body stiffened. Break, Qi. The fist radiance was like a dazzling star as it whistled out. At the same time, Chen Hao's figure suddenly flashed and tore apart Hu Meinyang's terrifying energy pressure like a gust of wind breaking through the waves. Rumble, the hand seal and fist shadows collided, and the sound was like thunder from the ninth heaven resounding through the void. The first collision had caused the mountains and the earth to shake. Not to mention the ordinary cultivators in the primitive secret realm. Even experts like Chu Feiyang, Morris, and Nie Fan would be surprised if they saw this. This was definitely a peak confrontation. After Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang's first collision, their figures did not retreat but instead advanced. One was more violent than the other, and the palm shadows and fist shadows filled the sky. Within a radius of thousands of miles, there was a continuous sound of explosions. Wherever the two of them passed, the surrounding mountains collapsed one after another, and it was a scene of devastation. This little power is not enough. Don't hide it. Today, I will beat you until your skin is split open and your flesh is torn apart, and your butt is blooming. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, the 7 ancient sacred swords abruptly appeared on both sides of Chen Hao's body, above his head, and below his feet, forming the 7-star sword formation. Thump! With a light shout, Chen Hao's fist turned into the 7-star sword finger and pointed out in the air. Chi 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 chi. 7 or 8 ancient divine swords instantly tore through the void and maintained a fixed formation as they shot towards Hu Meinyang. What made Hu Meinyang slightly surprised was that Chen Hao's sword formation, which contained mysterious runes, was already terrifying enough. However, it actually contained several types of sword chi. Massacre sword chi as the tip. If gods block it, kill gods. If demons block it, slay demons. Immortal sword chi as the handle. Immortal, indestructible, indestructible. Ethereal sword chi as the form, instantly changing thousands of times, leaving no trace. Destructive sword chi as the will. Wherever the will reached, everything would collapse. Mountains and rivers sword chi as the foundation. Beautiful mountains and rivers, only I am. Soft sword chi as the shield, airtight and invulnerable. Heartless sword chi as the heart, severing the heavens and earth. Severing emotions only to kill. 7 sword daras, 7 treasured swords, connected by the 7-star sword formation. Even though Chen Hao still hadn't completely merged them into one, and there were still various loopholes and flaws in the 7 swords and 7 daras, it was still one of the stronger ultimate moves in his 200 years of comprehension. What a madman! Hu Meinyang was shocked. Even with her peerless talent, she had never tried such an abnormal combination. How was it possible to merge 7 types of sword paths into one? Chapter 8:17. However, Chen Hao had managed to do it. Although it was far-fetched and bluntly superimposed together, he had indeed done it. Although Hu Meinyang did not know the secular sword principle, she knew that this was equivalent to integrating 7 emotions into the secular Heart Sutra at the same time. No matter what, she could not do it, nor was she willing to try it now. Even if she wanted to try it, she would have to cultivate the secular Heart Sutra to the highest level and reach the supreme realm of Hongmeng. It seems that you've gone crazy from wanting to ravage me. You forced me to do this. 10. Buzz. As the word 10,000 left her mouth, the surging Tao Law around Hu Meinyang instantly bloomed with an incomparably bright light, like the scorching sun in the sky. At the same time, she retreated rapidly, making Chen Hao's 7-star sword temporarily unable to touch her to buy herself some time. Tao. As the word Tao left her mouth, the Tao Law around Hu Meinyang began to spin wildly. At this moment, the endless Tao law between heaven and earth seemed to materialize and converged on Hu Meinyang's body at an astonishing speed. The moment the word Tao ended, Hu Meinyang's figure had completely disappeared. Her entire body was like a scorching sun condensed from Tao law. An ordinary person would be blinded by a single glance. Kill. As the word kill left her mouth, the scorching sun suddenly exploded like spring thunder. Rumble. Rumble. The 10,000 Tao kill and the 7-star sword collided, shattering mountains and rivers and collapsing heaven and earth. Puff. Chen Hao spat out blood and flew backward. Hu Meinyang felt a sweetness in her throat and forcibly controlled her blood essence, but her qi and blood were churning and her meridians were cracking. Fuck. Humph. With 2 bangs, the 2 fell to the ground. Chen Hao spat out blood and cursed angrily, while Hu Meinyang snorted coldly. You're courting death. If I hadn't held back a bit of my strength, you would have been destroyed by now. Hu Meinyang could not help but say angrily. You think you're in the right to break my ultimate technique with absolute strength? You call that a battle to my heart's content? Damn it! Chen Hao felt his meridians cracking inch by inch and was so angry that his teeth itched. You used this kind of ultimate technique that only a madman would practice, and you're blaming me? You're biting off more than you can chew. You're simply pulling up seedlings to help them grow and forcefully defy the heavens. Don't be a frog in a well. Since I've done it, I naturally have the ability to control it. As Chen Hao spoke, he directly took out several spiritual herbs that emitted an astonishing aura and swallowed them. The vast and majestic chant of the primary outline of the great Tao rang out in his mind. Hu Meinyang frowned, not daring to fall behind. She also took out a saint-grade spirit herb to heal her injuries. She knew very well what this shameless guy Chen Hao wanted to do. She had a connate embryo of Tao, so her recovery speed was quite fast. However, she knew that Chen Hao's physical body was no weaker than her connate embryo of Tao. Once he recovered, Hu Meinyang was certain that he would strike first to gain the upper hand and take the opportunity to deal with her. Fortunately, she had used 90% of her strength to suppress Chen Hao, so her injuries were not as serious as Chen Hao's. More than 10 minutes later, Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang got up at almost the same time and started fighting again. But this time, Chen Hao did not use his ultimate technique directly. He truly relied on his strength and battle techniques to fight with Hu Meinyang. The battle went on wildly. Hu Meinyang's connate embryo of Tao and the powerful ability of myriad Tao resonance, coupled with the fact that she had suppressed her strength to fight with Chen Hao, made her recovery speed not slower than Chen Hao's. But even so, after fighting with Chen Hao for real, Hu Meinyang was still shocked by how monstrous Chen Hao was. She could feel that it was not difficult for her to defeat Chen Hao if she used her full strength, but it was impossible for her to kill him. Once Chen Hao broke through to Tian Fa, even defeating Chen Hao would be difficult. After a day and a night, Chen Hao's essence, qi, and spirit suddenly soared into the sky. Tian Fa had finally been activated. At this moment, Chen Hao's entire body was covered in injuries. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. The peerlessly beautiful Hu Meinyang wasn't much better off than Chen Hao. Her bright and clean jade-like face was also covered in blood. She looked like she was gnashing her teeth. Obviously, after a day and night of trembling and suppressing her strength, she did not have any advantage at all. The bloody footprints and palm prints on her but were the best proof. Are you coming or not? It's about to start. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Why won't I come? Although Hu Meinyang was gnashing her teeth in anger at Chen Hao's shameless fighting style and exquisite battle techniques, she had no choice but to come to Chen Hao's side at this time. Pa. For palms connected, their minds connected. Chen Hao's small realm sky punishment came crashing down after the two entered the state of thoughtless tranquility. A terrifying tremor spread out, but it could not be compared to the great Tian Fa. Moreover, the place they were in was an endless barren land, far away from the Emperor Jade Essence area. There was no need to worry about being discovered. After the Tian Fa ended, the two were still immersed in the dual cultivation state. It was only 6 hours before the battle that Hu Meinyang let out a cold snort and ended the state. Chen Hao woke up and glared at Hu Meinyang with disdain. Both of them did not like each other, so of course, they were not convinced. However, they still stepped into Small Wisdom 1 and hurried back to the human camp. There's no time otherwise There's plenty of time after the battle. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Emph. Come here. Chen Hao did not waste any more words. What? It's a waste not to use it. 6 hours is still time. You're mine now, help me stabilize my realm. If you want it, say something nice to me. It's just an exchange. You still belong to me. The two in the flying device were at loggerheads, not giving in to each other. It was impossible for Chen Hao to take advantage of her. However, just as Hu Meinyang said, their souls were connected, and their minds were as one. They were indeed using each other and improving together. Therefore, although they said that, they still took a step forward and entered the state of cultivation in the flying device. It's time. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Under everyone's anticipation, the cultivators from the 5 galaxies flew up into the air and headed towards the central region of the Imperial Chalcedony once more, as their leader's voice traveled tens of thousands of kilometers. At the same time, the 5 major galaxies that had been eliminated did not leave just because they had lost. This was a battle between the top experts of the 10 major galaxies. It was a rare opportunity for any cultivator to learn. At the same time, they could understand each other better. After all, there were still hundreds of years in the primitive secret realm. Conflicts and battles in the future were inevitable. If they missed this opportunity to understand each other's true combat strength, it would be extremely difficult. In the human race, Hu Meinyang, who had been in a mess 2 hours ago, once again bloomed with a peerless demeanor that could cause chaos and bewilderment in the world. If other people saw Hu Meinyang and Chen Hao together, their eyeballs would probably fall to the ground. Chen Hao, Chen Shui, Pan Long, Xia Yuyu, the sisters Du Jing, Bailey Ningbing, and Gao Lan followed closely behind Hu Meinyang, forming the lineup for today's battle. After stepping into the late stage of the Heaven Immortal realm, although his realm had not been stabilized, his combat strength had increased tremendously. As for how much it had increased, even Hu Meinyang, who was dual cultivating with Chen Hao, could not be sure. However, Hu Meinyang was sure that even if he faced the top experts of the 3 strongest galaxies, Chen Hao would not be weak. Whether they could win would depend on how many hidden trump cards they had and how strong they were. However, at this moment, Chen Hao's aura was no different from before the battle. His disguised appearance was still the same as before. Pan Long and the others were the same. What are you looking at? During the flight, Chen Hao, who was staring at Hu Meinyang's back, suddenly heard Chen Shui's voice. Cough cough. Nothing. Big brother, I was thinking about today's situation and got distracted. What's wrong, little Shui? Chen Hao hurriedly transmitted his voice. He felt embarrassed, and the imperceptible golden light in his eyes disappeared. Didn't you say you couldn't wait to kill her? That's right, little Shui. Big brother was trampling on her with his gaze just now. So you're saying that she accompanied you to spar, but you were trampled on instead, and now you're trying to find balance? That's not true. Although I didn't get the upper hand, it was a tie. How could Big Brother lose out? You don't say what you think. Chen Shui rolled her eyes at Chen Hao and stopped talking. On the other hand, Chen Hao blushed with shame. Chen Shui's words had hit the nail on the head. Hu Meinyang, who had taken the lead and left her back to the others, also had a trace of anger in her eyes at this moment. Although she didn't turn her head, she could sense every movement of Chen Hao and the others. Even their gazes were no exception. Just now, when Chen Hao was staring at her back, she felt extremely strange, as if she had been completely seen through. Wherever Chen Hao's gaze went, that feeling was the most obvious. Even her curvaceous buttocks felt itchy. This was because Chen Hao's gaze was fixed on her buttocks for the most time. He's a hooligan in his bones. Hu Meinyang secretly said in her heart. Soon after, the corners of her mouth curled into a smug arc. For the time being, Chen Hao could only mentally trample on Hu Meinyang. He didn't expect that just because he despised Hu Meinyang's hypocritical, noble, elegant, and aloof aloofness, he couldn't help but use his fiery eyes of truth to blatantly despise the other party. This actually caused the person involved, Hu Meinyang, and the bystander, Chen Shui, to sense it. If he had known that the two women's senses were so sharp, Chunhao wouldn't have done this no matter what. The fiery eyes of truth was one of his top secrets. Although it didn't contain any energy and couldn't sense any mysteries, it could allow people with sharp senses and strong intuition to sense abnormalities. That shining white, but seems to be really not bad. Motherfucker, this unruly and difficult to tame rouge horse has actually unknowingly aroused my desire? Chunhao was suddenly shocked. Today's participants, please come forward. 10 sides gathered, 4 sides took the stage, and 6 sides watched the show. Today, when he was about to face the Protoss, Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants still had a faint smile on his face. He was confident and aloof, as if he didn't care about the upcoming battle at all. This was the confidence brought about by his powerful strength. Chapter 8:18. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Following Chu Feiyang's words, the contestants from the Tyrants, the Protoss, the humans, and the elves immediately rose into the air and arrived at their respective camps around Broken Peak. Hiss hiss hiss. Immediately, divine senses spread out unscrupulously to sense the opponent's aura. The 6 who won against the Heavenly Devil clan are all here. There are 4 new cultivators with average auras. As expected, as long as we perform as usual, we can win this match. The elven race cultivators secretly communicated after sensing the situation of the 10 humans. Their fighting spirit was high. With the experience of the first match, the elves who were ranked 5th in the speed competition directly sent a cultivator who had already been chosen to step onto Broken Peak. With the lesson learned from the Sky Demon race, the elves had sent out a cultivator ranked 10th. It would be great if he could win, but it would not matter if he lost. The 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th were all chosen by the elves to take the initiative to let the other party arrange their opponents when they took the field first. They were confident that their overall strength was higher than that of the human race. By taking the initiative to use these weaklings as bait, the human race would send out the strong to fight the weak against the strong. If they sent out the weak, they might lose directly. If they stayed, they would also fight the strong against the strong. No matter how they looked at it, they would not be at a disadvantage. Of course, they would not be able to benefit from it. In this way, they would not fall into a passive situation like the Heavenly Devil clan. Gaolan, you go. Hu Manyang directly called out Gaolan. Among the 10 humans, Gaolan should be at least the top 6 in the eyes of the elves. Hu Manyang wanted him to fight the weakest of the elves. Naturally, she wanted to win this match. Only Gaolan himself and the other contestants of the human race knew that in Hu Manyang's eyes, he should be the weakest. Although Gaolan was a little dissatisfied, he would definitely not go against Hu Manyang. This match, no matter what, I must win. I, Gaolan, want to prove that I am not worse than them. Boom. Gaolan turned Hu Manyang's contempt into a strong motivation. His fighting spirit rose wildly, and he began the battle. Between the two of them, Gaolan was already a little stronger than his opponent. In addition to his strong fighting spirit to prove himself in front of Hu Manyang, Gaolan broke out beyond his limit. In a short 5 minutes, the battle ended. Although he did not kill his opponent, there was no suspense. The human race won the first round. In the second round, it was the human race's turn to go up first. Hu Manyang immediately sent the fierce Coiling Dragon up. Coiling Dragon's ferocity was far greater than his own strength. He was definitely a headache to deal with. Hu Manyang's decision to send her out was within expectations. This guy is mine. Chi. The elves had already made arrangements to deal with the 5 human victors apart from Hu Manyang. With Coiling Dragon's appearance, the elves naturally seized the opportunity to step onto the stage. The second strongest? Hu Manyang and Chunhao frowned as soon as the second strongest warrior of the elf clan appeared. Huh. You really think highly of me. Coiling Dragon laughed excitedly when he saw the other party. Do you admit defeat, or do you want to die? The second most powerful warrior of the elf clan flapped his wings and stared at the Coiling Dragon in the sky. The rainbow-colored translucent wings flapped lightly, creating mysterious halos of light that exuded an astonishing pressure. Die. But it's you. Boom. Coiling Dragon took a step forward, waved his fists and rushed forward fiercely. He was very excited. Being able to show his strength in advance was naturally something he could not wish for more. He had been holding back for a long time. It doesn't matter. Even if he reveals a little, he'll only be in the bottom 5 in the 3 major galaxies, Chun Hao said to Hu Meinyang telepathically. The second most powerful warrior of the Elf clan would only be 6th or 7th in the Tyrants, Protoss, and Zerg clans. He would be eye-catching, but not too eye-catching. Arrogant. With a flap of his wings, the second most powerful warrior of the Elf clan directly raised his strength and speed to the peak. He wanted to use his absolute strength to kill the fierce coiling dragon. However, what? Is this guy crazy? What made countless people widen their eyes was that the second most powerful warrior of the Elf clan did not gain any advantage in this exchange of blows. Coiling Dragon, who was also retreating, rushed forward fiercely the moment he regained his footing. He continued to attack with his fists, full of vigor, without holding back. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the second most powerful warrior of the Elf clan did not have time to be surprised. The two of them were locked in a situation where they exchanged blows. It was cruel, bloody, and without any gorgeous unique skills. There was only the collision of pure strength. 2 minutes later, the second most powerful warrior of the Elf clan's shrill scream of horror came to an abrupt end, indicating the result of the match. What a fierce guy. He's completely fighting with his life. When two enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave wins. The second most powerful warrior of the Elf clan is obviously frightened by this guy. Not to mention exceeding his standard, he didn't even display his basic combat strength, right? Indeed. However, this human guy definitely hid his strength last time. Otherwise, it would be impossible for his combat strength to increase so much in just 3 days. Countless cultivators looked at Coiling Dragon, who was covered in blood but still standing proudly, and discussed in a buzzing voice. Interesting. The human race is scheming something big. Maurice, who was unparalleled in the Zerg clan and had put away his 8 snake heads, stared at Coiling Dragon, then at Hu Meinyang and the others. He smiled and licked his delicate red lips with his fragrant tongue, full of evil charm and bloodthirst. Did you see that? No one knew that Wuxia, who had been pushed to the 4th most powerful warrior of the Protoss clan, had a cold, arrogant, and confident voice that sounded in the ears of the 1st to 3rd most powerful warriors of the Protoss clan. They've been here for a long time. Is that so? Then who do you think this person is? It must be Coiling Dragon. Although I don't know what method he used to hide the aura of almost all the ancient beasts, I'm sure it's him. I believe that you can also sense the remnant aura of the ancient beasts on his body. Also, his eyes inadvertently revealed a wild look. I can't be wrong. Wuxia transmitted his voice with great certainty. Hearing Wuxia's words, the 3 most powerful warriors of the Protoss clan pondered for a moment. Before the start of the elimination round, Wuxia had said that God of Slaughter Chun Hao and the members of Proud Heaven would definitely appear. Now, although there were no clues, all the signs were completely within Wuxia's expectations. Wuxia was so sure because no one knew better than him about God of Slaughter Chun Hao and the members of Proud Heaven. When the Imperial Jade Marrow vein was first discovered, it was because of Proud Heaven's member, Lan Feng. All these years he had been hunting down Proud Heaven's members. Although he didn't succeed, he knew a lot about them. We actually lost. The elves didn't feel anything when they lost the first round, but the second round, which they had expected to win, was lost. This caused the elves to lose their composure. It's just an accident. It's just 1 round. We can't lose our composure. You go. The leader of the elves, Siege, took a deep breath and followed the original plan. The 9th-ranked warrior was the first to ascend Broken Peak. Ningbing, you go. Hu Meinyang said straightforwardly. Then she transmitted her voice. If you can win, win. If you can't, don't force it. Just admit defeat. Miss Hu. Forget it. Bailey Ningbing wanted to ask something, but in the end, she held back and didn't speak. Previously, there were 4 new people with powerful auras, and there were 3 women among them. Bailey Ningbing's doubts about the matter became uncertain once more. And just now, Coiling Dragon showed that he was stronger than last time, which made her even more uncertain. So what if it was real? So what if it was fake? It was fine if it was fake, but if it was real, it was clearly by her side, but they were like strangers. What did it have to do with her? No one could understand this feeling. I will win. Bailey Ningbing stared at Hu Meinyang and flew into the air. To a certain extent, Hu Meinyang was similar to her, but what Hu Meinyang did was 100 times better than what she did in the past. If I didn't rely on your strength, I could reach where I am today. I could do it in the past, and I can do it in the future. Even if we don't interact for the rest of our lives, I won't let you look down on me. The road is still very, very long. Chi. The immortal sword glow blossomed. Her slender figure, beautiful face, and determined eyes caused Bailey Ningbing's temperament and aura to undergo a shocking change. Her heart changed, and her state of mind transformed. Like a Buddhist, she naturally entered a subtle state. At this moment, countless cultivators, including the top experts of the 3 galaxies, were slightly surprised. They revealed envious expressions as they stared at the beautiful figure descending from the void. Enlightenment. Bailey Ningbing actually gained enlightenment at this time? Amazing, as expected of the woman who has an affair with killing god Chen Hao. Her luck is amazing, but it's not the right time. So beautiful. Killing god Chen Hao's women are all peerless beauties, and each is stronger than the last. Even Miss Hu's relationship with him is unclear. Really makes people jealous. What nonsense are you talking about? Killing god Chen Hao is just a coward. How can he be worthy of Miss Hu? Cough cough. I'm just saying, what's there to be excited about? Brainless fan. While a few human experts were discussing in low voices, a youth who had disguised his aura glared at them and cursed in his heart. Just randomly pull out 2 sisters-in-law and they're not inferior to Hu Meinyang. My boss isn't worthy of her? Damn it. She only knows how to show off and confuse people. She's just a little stronger. Barely qualified to be my boss's concubine. Enlightenment? Go to hell. Boom. When the 9th elf expert saw Bailey Ningbing's appearance, he knew that he only had a 40% chance of winning this battle. But now that Bailey Ningbing had entered enlightenment, why would he wait? Even though he knew that this was a grave offense, this was the battle stage, and it concerned the honor of the elf race. How could he not seize this opportunity? Stop! The people who were still envious of Bailey Ningbing suddenly heard 2 shouts. One was the leader of the human race, Hu Meinyang, and the other was one of the top 10 experts of the human race. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.